You are now tuned in to the Premier Hotspur TV. Sit back, get involved, comment away, because we are live.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Premier Hotspur TV. This is Simon here, North of England's biggest Spurs fan. Tonight, guys, it's at the bottom. You can see it. It's the Enic debate. Profit over glory, guys. I have got 3 guests in tonight, guys. First, guys, we've got the Sussex Hotspur Matt. He's always on the show with me. We've got Mike from FTB Sports, and we've got Lily White Lane. And also, guys, we will be joined by the Irish Hotspur, David Harris, and Josh from the Spurs debate in about 5 or 10 minutes. So, guys, we will crack on with the show and let the guys, they'll join us when they can. So, guys, welcome to the show. Mike, how are we, mate?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. As I said a couple of minutes earlier, been busy, working week. Glad it's Friday, weekend ahead. Football, obviously. Obviously, Tottenham are playing West Ham, big game for us. So, yeah, looking forward to the weekend football.
Yeah, brilliant. Lily White Lane, it's good to have you back on, mate. How are we?
Yeah, it's brilliant to be back on, obviously. Really looking forward to this one, as I've got a lot to say. But yeah, I'm all good, honestly. Looking forward to the show and, like you say, looking forward to the football on the weekend. Merseyside derby tomorrow, Tottenham on Sunday. Watching the scumbags Arsenal absolutely get spanked by Pep Guardiola and Manchester City. That's going to be quality as well. So I'm just looking forward to a massive Tottenham Hotspur winners reburst their bubbles, absolutely thrash the spammers. That's what they'll be. Then they'll no longer be the Hammers after we beat them. They'll be the spammers. So we're going to thrash them, and looking forward to seeing Arsenal get absolutely smashed. So as I say, looking forward to the weekend of football, and yes, pleasure to be on.
Oh, thank you very much, Lily White. Matt, how are we? It wasn't long ago where we done this. We done another show last night. But how are we, pal?
Yeah, mate, all good. We've had lots of shows to do lately. It's all been good fun. Loving all the interaction with everyone. Really looking forward to tonight. And obviously Tottenham won last night, so we're going to a weekend a little bit happier. And yeah, like Lily White says, let's go and beat the spammers and put them in their place.
Yeah, guys. So before we crack on with the show, guys, if you're in the comments, guys, get your comments over. Ask any comments about this debate, and I'll get it over to the panel, guys. Keep it clean in the content, guys, and smash the like, subscribe if you already haven't, guys. It's free of charge, guys. Remember, we do not charge. It's free of charge. It's a click of a button, guys. We're going to bring Josh in, guys. Josh, how's it going, pal?
Sounding Simon, can you guys hear me?
I can hear you, Josh.
Yeah,
brilliant.
good.
Yeah. Just want to say hi to the gang first of all. There's a couple of new faces here. So, Lily White Lane, is it?
Yeah, Lily White Lane, mate.
Yeah, I've seen you about, mate. So, nice to meet you, mate. Nice to meet you. It's always good to see a young fan doing so well. So, congratulations to you, mate. You've got a lot of knowledge. Yeah, well done.
And Josh, we've got
cheers,
next to Lily White Lane in the middle there, we've got Matt, the Sussex Hotspur.
Yeah.
You're right,
and, running it down there in Sussex, is he?
And next to you, we've got Mike from FTB Sports.
How's it going, Mike?
Not too bad. Yourself?
Yeah, good, mate. Nice top.
Good. Thank you. Part of the football club, but yeah. So it's one of them where I just started wearing it in lockdown. So
he's a mascot, is he, for today?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Josh, as I said to the guys, me and Matt, we're gonna throw questions at you, Lily White, and Mike, and when David comes in as well,
Cool.
and just literally answer the questions when we're firing over. Sure. So guys, we'll crack on, and David will join us when he can. So guys, firstly, guys, I'm going to go back to when Enic took over in 2001, and I want your opinions. How do you think Enic had done since they've been taking control from 2001 to present? Lily White Lane, go on, mate.
Look, I wasn't born when Enic took over. Thank God. didn't really know what was going on, because I think I would have kicked off the amount of investment they've actually put into the club. So honestly, I go by Enic. And for me, people who say Enic in that argument is they've made us financially stable, when it was only a couple of days ago we find out we're in debt. So for me, I think it's a frustrating story, the lack of investment into the club, into this board, for the players and stuff. And let's be honest here, Hoffa squad of B-Tech players who, honestly, we could have got better players. And it frustrates me, the position we're in, because of our owners, whether it be Joe Lewis or Enic. So I have a lot of opinions. I'm looking forward to getting them out there. And as I say, just I think to start things off, Enic came in and they did invest a little bit of money in us. But as time has went on, they've invested less and less and less into the club. And that's why this board, and this is why people call out this board instead of saying Jose out, because they're the reason we're in this position. They're the reason we're basically where we are in the Premier League. They're the reason we've only got one Carabao Cup in 20 years. And I'm not sure how much longer I can take it with the lack of investment from this board. But as I say, I'll pass it around, because I can't sit here and talk all day, as much as I'd love to, and have a rant about the board. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on Enic first off.
Brilliant, Lily White. Thank you very much for your honest opinion there. I know you're young enough to you will remember when they first took over, but you still can have your opinion on it, mate. Up to present, mate. Mike, what's your thought? What's your opinion on how Enic have done since 2001 up to present, mate?
It's interesting. So Enic brought Spurs off Alan. Called him Lord Sugar, should we say, for £22 million, I believe it was, wasn't it, back then? Which, when you think about it, absolute bargain for a club of Tottenham's stature in English football. We are in debt, but you need to. What I would say with regards to the debt is you need to take it into perspective. So Tottenham we're £1.7 billion in debt. And out of that 1.7 billion, 1.2 billion of that is spent on the stadium. Now, the stadium's a long-term debt, which you need to, I suppose, think about the fact that long-term debt isn't a bad thing. The more concerning thing is your short-term debt. Now, Tottenham, I think I wrote this down somewhere. We've got £335 million worth of short-term debt. Now, it sounds a lot, but when you compare it to the rest of the league, we're actually below average. To put it into context, the highest short-term debt for a Premier League club is Brighton. I think it's about £164 million. Enic, when they took over us, we were a club that 10 years prior to Enic taken over in 2001, I think it was 10 years, 9 or 10 years, around that time, our best place finish was 7th. Now, you fast forward from 2001 to where we are now. We're now competing Champions League football. You could argue a couple of seasons ago, albeit we finished 3rd in a so-called 2-horse race. But we've been competing Champions League finals, etc. So when you put that all into perspective, where Enic took us from to where they've taken us now, I think they've done an absolutely fantastic job. The amount of money that they've invested in the club, we've now got world-class facilities. We've got a world-class stadium. The only thing I think you could potentially debate about in terms of Enic performing badly would be their choice of managers. Because we've gone through managers like no one's business. However, probably from Martin Jol to Pochettino to Mourinho, I think they're and Harry Redknapp, of course. I'd say that those 4 managers are probably the best managers we've had at this club for since Terry Venables. I'd probably go back as far as. So my thoughts on the board are probably slightly different to maybe some of the other people's views here. I think without Enic, we wouldn't be where we are today. And yeah, I'm full of praise for them. They have invested money for us this year. I mean, we spent over £100 million in the summer. So it's not a case that they're not invested in us. You could argue that some of the players that we've brought haven't performed to the standards that we've that we've expected them to come in and play at. But that's not the board's fault. That's more, I would say, either the players' fault or maybe the managers who've purchased those players for not getting the best out of them. So, yeah, my thoughts on the Enic. I haven't got a bad word to say about them, really. I'm very much Enic in as opposed to Enic out.
Oh, brilliant, Mike. As I said, we love different opinions, and it's brilliant to see the opposite side of people who actually just want bombing Enic out in a minute and things like that. To love it. It's a very good opinion there, Mike. Guys, before we get to Josh, we've got some comments here. We've got Yusuf say, hello, mates. Nice seeing the panel. We will give questions as well. Yeah. So, guys, if you're in the chat, guys, fire any questions away in that comments, guys, and I'll get them over to the panel, guys. Like the channel, guys, and subscribe to the channel as well. Josh, exact same question over to you, mate. What's your opinion on Enic since took over in 2001 to present, mate?
I think, look, having been a Spurs fan for more than 25 years of my life, I've seen it all. You know, I've seen, you know, the crappy finishes in the 90s, being the guy in the classroom that supports the worst club in the Premier League, you know, being the quiet one, to having little moments of glory here or there, having phenomenal players, whether it was Sheringham, Carrick. Obviously, if you go back a few more years, you've got Gaza and Lineker and Waddle and whatnot. So we've always been a club that's had, you know, one or two glory signings, glory years here or there. The 90s, the average position was 10th. So that's your spot on there with your numbers. You know, it went from 7th down to 15th in 1994. So if you look at Daniel Levy, when he came in, he took a mid-table club over that was finishing 10th. And his remit was to get us into the top tier of the league, you know, into the top four, top three. So in terms of his average position in the last 20 years, you have to work it out, but it's definitely going to be higher than 10th. I'll tell you that. It might be around 6th. It might be around 7th. It won't be 10th because he's definitely had higher place finishes since then. So comparing our sort of recent finishes, if you take the last, you know, it's Martin Yole, Redknapp, Pochettino, we're flirting with sort of 5th or 6th, you know, most seasons. So that in itself is a massive improvement, you know. If you look at it from a league position finish, you then add to that the growth of the infrastructure of the club to where we are today, with probably the best stadium in the league, potentially in Europe, probably the best training facilities up there with some of the other clubs now. You have to say, you know, Enic have done a pretty decent job, but have they done an amazing job? No. So it's not like they've done wonders. It's not like they've done bad. I'd say they've done an okay job for what they've achieved. We used to sell the Sheringhams and Carricks and Berbatovs to United. We don't have to do that anymore. You know, we've got financial clout. Just to give you an idea of Premier League money, sort of going back to when the Premier League started in '93, the money that was coming in, Premier League TV money that was coming in '92, '93 was 250 million. It's now 2.5 billion. Yeah, so tenfold increase in money coming in. So when you've got money coming in, it's how you spend it, it's how you invest it, it's what you do with it that counts. And in fairness, they've delivered on most of their promises. But I feel like we're in a massive transition now because we now have the tools and the infrastructure to now really become an elite club with the stadium, with the organic growth that will come with the stadium, the revenues on and off the pitch. And obviously the TV money just keeps increasing, guys. You know, the Premier League has done a wonderful job. We talk about Levy, but the chairmen of the Premier League have done a great job in selling and exporting this product all over the world, in Asia, in America, obviously Europe itself. And all these places around the world, we have fans, Tottenham fans, all sorts of Premier League fans. So the key is how we spend the money. And I've got some good stats on how we spent the money, but that's my general overview. Is they've not done an amazing job, they've not done a bad job, they've done a good job. But now I'll be looking forward to the next 5 years. I think you've got to look at it in 5-year periods. I'll be looking at the next 5 years to see what they do with all the new revenue that's going to come in from the investment that we put in the stadium and all the sponsorship money that we should start getting now once COVID-19's out the way and we start filling that grand stadium that we've got and we start seeing all that revenue piling in. We should reinvest it back into the club. We shouldn't be taking it out of the club. You know, Joe Lewis and Enic, or where it's Tavistock Group, they need to make sure that the money that comes from Tottenham Hotspur, most of it needs to go back into the club, and they should only take their dividends and shares on the profits they make with the majority of it going back. And then you come down to sporting directors, recruitment directors, what they do with the money. And it's like running a business or a company. If you've got good experts in the field, if you've got good, intelligent people working for you, and you pay good wages for these people, just like you pay for players, they'll spend it wisely. So now it's how they spend it. But you know, it's been an up and down job, but not too bad on the whole, if you ask me.
Absolutely fantastic opinion there, Josh. Fantastic. Guys, welcome. The Irish Hotspur in the house, guys. The Harris Army's in the house. David, how are we going, pal?
Oh, good, lads. So, look, sorry for being a bit late. It's just like it's just been one stream after another today. So, sorry for being a small bit late. Things have just ran late. But no, honestly, pleasure being on. Thanks for asking me. And you know what I mean? It's a pleasure meeting everybody here, lads. So big up everybody. Simon, David, your channel's going well. Your channel's going well, isn't it?
It's going all right, David. Slowly but surely, pal. Slowly but surely. That's how it is. But David, thanks for coming on, pal. As I said, as I said to the others, mate. So, David, I'm going to ask you the same question I've asked the others, pal. Is firstly, what's your opinion on how Enic has done since taking control since 2001 to present? Before you ask that, David, I've got a comment here. You only need to see how Bruno has done at United. This tells you how Enic has failed us. Yusuf says, you guys facing West Ham, so if you lot are 3 up, don't get carried away. There you go. David, over to you, pal.
Look, there's no denying that they have brought a change to the club in terms of the size of the club that I knew in 2001 compared to the size of the club I know now, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of stadium, training complex, things like that. In terms of success, 0. You know what I mean? Between that period, we've won one Worthington Cup. That's all we have. Do you know what I mean? In terms of on-the-pitch investments, you know what I mean? Considering some of the money they sold, like players like Bale and Modric on for, the recruitment has been poor. They've always signed cheap. Like when you're selling on the likes of Modric, or when you're selling on Bale and you're bringing in 7 players, like, no. Out of that Bale money, you should have brought in 2, 3 quality players. You know what I mean? Out of all them players we brought in, Lamella's the only one left at the club. And even he's not good enough. Like, in terms of what Enic want out of Tottenham, for them, they've done brilliantly. They've come in, they brought, like, in terms of, like, infrastructure and that, they brought a small club and they've turned it into a massive club, right? Which ultimately they're going to sell on for a profit. So they've done wonders for their pockets. But what have they done for us Spurs fans apart from get an extra 30,000 in to see a game every week when we're allowed back in? Absolutely fuck all in terms of the pitch, in terms of recruitment. Okay, yeah, you know, you can argue that, like, you know, they brought us from kind of like, you know, mid-table all the way to Champions League football and that. But at the end of the day, like, you know, where's the ambition? Where's the ambition in signings and that? Like, they should have put us in a position, like, it's been poorly planned, because they should have put us in a position where we had a world-class team going into a world-class stadium. That's the position we should have been in. And they didn't do it. They didn't do it. Like, you know what I mean? They just, like, the answers were there underneath Pochettino. You know what I mean? Well, you may as well call me coach, not manager, or, you know what I mean? They won't back me. This needs, it's going to be a painful rebuild. And instead, what the board done was sack him and bring in Mourinho, thinking he'd be able to get better out of this crop. And it hasn't happened. At the end of the day, they failed us fans. They failed us on the pitch. Do you know what I mean? In terms of their profit, they've done everything they've aspired to be. Make no mistakes about this. What they end up selling Tottenham for, which is their main end, compared to what they brought it for, it's like they're an investment firm. We have to realize this. Like, they invest in more or less what are sure things. They take a calculated risk. Buying a football club, building the best stadium in the world, building one of the best training complexes in the world, they're going to sell this club on for a couple of billion. Do you know what I mean? And the thing is, in the meantime, we're left paying the stadium loan, we're left paying the loan they took out to cover losses. And, like, what really irks me is the fact that we spent so little in previous years. Like, the fact that we spent so little in previous years, like, if anybody should be in a position to capitalize on the market the way it is now with the pandemic and everything else, it should have been Tottenham Hotspur. Like, I would have sat here thinking, yeah, the money's there 100%. Because at the end of the day, the board have put fuck off from their own pockets in to buy players. So, do you know what I mean? In terms of that respect, we don't really owe them anything. They've never really had to put their hand in their pocket for playing squad. In terms of, so the playing squad. So, like, do you know what I mean? Going into this pandemic, like, they should realistically, going with the new stadium and that, like, obviously we still own for the stadium. They should have known, okay, we are actually going to have to put our hands in our pocket now to invest in world-class players and get them in now, and then we're going to see our return, and we're going to sell the club on. But they haven't done that. What they're trying to do is keep their pockets lined, also take money out of the club, you know what I mean, cover all their losses, and just sell Tottenham on, but like with a shit squad. Do you know what I mean? But so like, for me, it looks like they've used us. Do you know what I mean? They've used us. And it really pisses me off because us fans don't deserve that. We buy BT, we buy Sky. You know what I mean? You even bought Amazon Prime to watch games. We buy merchandise in the club shop. We all buy jerseys, scarves, hats, flags, everything else. You know, the people that go to match days, when they're at the match days, you're talking all the tickets, money. You're talking money that's spent in the club shop that day, which is, honestly, I've been there. It's thousands by Koreans when they're there on match day. Do you know what I mean? Because of sun. In terms of, like, you know, drink at the bar, food, everything else. Like, over the years, they've been making a killing. And we just haven't seen the return investment on the pitch. And that's why Enic are culpable for the situation we find ourselves in now. Because, like, again, you know what I mean? The model was down the road, Arsenal. They didn't have a world-class squad moving into the stadium. They had to sell players to fund the stadium. Now, like, surely you look at that model and say, well, look at the fall of grace Arsenal have had. That's not the way to go. How can we do this better? And I hate to say it, but that is the route we are going down right now. And it's like they've had years to plan this and look at this and do it better. And we're going down the same route that Arsenal went down. It's not right, lads. It's not right.
But haven't Spurs spent over 113 million in the summer? So we have spent. Money has been spent on players. I'm talking from the actual owner's pocket. Like Aston Villa, their owners put their hands in the pocket this summer to fund the players. But surely, the size of the club that Tottenham are, you're talking about a club that's almost becoming self-sufficient or hitting the realms of becoming self-sufficient.
Well, it's been self-sufficient for years.
But the clubs that I'd say are self-sufficient, I'd say is Man United, your Liverpool's, potentially maybe Arsenal. But they're clubs that the chairman don't have to spend, or they shouldn't have to spend money from their own pockets, because the shirt sales will go and buy them a world-class player, like you mentioned. Tottenham aren't on that level yet. So, in fairness to Enic, I would say that they've spent the money whereby the managers have come in and said, "Right, I want this player, this player, this player." I mean, if you look, we brought in.
To be honest with you, first of all, I actually disagree, thinking we're not on that level, because we've had more league over the last few years. We finished higher more than Manchester United, more than what they have us. For years, we were finishing higher above Liverpool than what they have us. So, in terms of on that level, I actually disagree. We've had plenty of opportunities moving into Wembley, moving into this new stadium to fund some better players, bring them in and keep us at that level. But it hasn't happened.
But who's it down to sign the players? The manager or the chairman?
I just want to comment on something here.
Well, it's down to the chairman, but
guys, can we have one person talking at a time, guys? We're talking over each other. So one at a time, guys. David, go on, mate.
No, to say we're not at this level, we were well in terms ahead of Liverpool in terms of winning the league title, and all of a sudden, they invested. Look what happens. We invest, but we invest cheap because of the money we're bringing in. We want to be self-sufficient. I get that, but what the point I'm making is when are the owners actually going to step up and help this club? Do you know what I mean? Become one of the elites, because it's not going to happen without them doing it. At the end of the day, if they do it, it is a short-term loss out of their pocket. But over 2-3 years, they're going to get it back in terms of better competition revenue coming in. The better player you have, obviously, the more shirts you sell. So they're going to get it back in all that other sort of way. There comes a point where the chairmans actually have to put their hands in the pocket. Every chairman does it when they take over a club. Every owners do it. Look at Aston Villa. If they didn't invest, they were going down this season. Sure thing. Their owners put their hands into their pocket and invested some quality players. And look, they're flying now.
But they haven't got any
When are
world-class
our
players.
owners going to do it? We're at their level right now. We're at Aston Villa's level right now. And they've been down to the Championship and back up.
Aston Villa haven't brought any world-class players, though. You could argue Grealish is probably hitting that category of becoming a world-class player, but they've brought players that will develop it into fine players. Tottenham have done this. Their sort of philosophy is similar to Aston Villa's.
Yeah, but what is it? They've been down to the Championship and back up. We've been Premier League. We've never been out of Premier League since it was named the Premier League. So Aston Villa's been down and back up. We're like, when are we going to shift from this motto to actually just getting the genuine real deal? Because it's costing us.
But this is the thing, though.
Are you happy with one League Cup?
Obviously, I'm not. But I understand the process. Sorry.
Before you crack on, I think Lily White's been waiting for a long time to have a little say. Lily White, what did you say?
Look, what I'll say here about that is you can argue that they put us and you can argue that they did good business, but you have to look at it from a standpoint as half of the players that we have right now are Pochettino's backups, and the reason they're starting in this team is not because of Jose Mourinho, it's because of Enic. And the reason you can put the blame on Enic for me is half of the players that they've invested in were second on the list of whoever was manager, whether it was Pochettino, whether it was Jose Mourinho. What Jose Mourinho wanted Skriniar last summer? Who did he get? Joe Rodon. Okay, Joe Rodon, promising young talent. Okay, but he wanted Skriniar. For example, Jose Mourinho wanted a creative midfielder and a new centre-half in the January transfer window. The board didn't do it. In the past with Pochettino, the board hasn't backed him with the players that he actually wants. They've always went for the second best and the B-Tech players that weren't top of his list. And it frustrates me because you look at it from a standpoint as we would have paid $5 more million, we could be sitting here right now with Bruno Fernandes. You know, the damage, like you say there on We Are Tottenham TV's comment, the damage has already been done. The issue is Serge Aurier, right? He's a decent enough right back, but he was never a star under Pochettino. He was backup for whether it be Kieran Trippier or whether it be Carl Walker. Ben Davies always a backup, but the reason we're left with him playing right now and regular now injured and certain players who are still in this squad is because of the lack of investment from this board, not backing whoever's manager with the players they want, right? You look at us, we're a business, right? And on the business side of things, the amount of deal and brand exposures we've got to other countries and everything, you know, getting our brand, getting Tottenham Hotspur all across the world, the likes of Heung-min Son, as a player, he's really helped us out with that. But you've got to look from a standpoint as, would you rather have this stadium right now? For example, right, we have this stadium right now, but we have nothing to show for it. So would you rather be at the Lane, but with actual trophies? Because what is the point in actually making massive business deals when you're not actually investing in the people that, right, these business deals are to get people to watch Tottenham Hotspur and basically support Tottenham, or basically get us more brand exposure for people to know who we are and get more money into the club to invest in this team. What is the point of doing that if you're not going to invest in the team?
What world-class players, though?
Mike, well then, mate, let's go through his comments. We've got We Are Tottenham TV saying, I'm sorry, but the last 2 summers, the damage has already been done. And We Are Tottenham TV says, we haven't upgraded the defence since Toby. This is lack of investment mixed with poor investment. Kevin says, like most live football is no longer about the penhole, it's about the money. And Rob says, another fail of Enic is Grealish. And Kev says, the business size rules the game now. And we had to come to terms with that. And Spurs are still in the holding side of things. And unfortunately, the money that has been spent badly. Right, guys, we're going to get on to the next question. What Lily White was about to say with investment, having backed previous managers. And that was my next question, guys. When we... if you cast your minds back, guys, the 2016-2017 season when we chased Chelsea for the title, and in January we was close to Chelsea. And in your opinions, guys, is it what Lily White said there? Was it lack of investment from Enic at that time that did not win us that league? Could they have just brought Pochettino at that time, 1 or 2 players that could have just won that league? Because me personally, we was close to Chelsea, and that was a very tight title race. And I think back in Pochettino in January transfer, 1 or 2 top players, I think will have won that league. Josh, you've been waiting patiently there, mate. You have this first, pal.
Yeah, look, I mean, when you buy a player you buy a player hoping that he's not going to dip in value, because at some point you might need to sell him to either replace him with a better player or to get rid of him and cash in. So it's like buying an asset. And when anyone buys an asset, they look for the sell-on value. If you don't look for sell-on value, you don't know what you're doing. So, you know, if you look at sort of players like Sanchez, Musa Sissoko, Roberto Soldado, Eric Lamela, you know, Steven Bergwijn, Lucas Moura, 30 million, right? 35 million. A lot of these players, when you buy them and you get burnt buying these players at this sort of money, what happens is you start to think, well, maybe we need to stop taking these risks because we've got a bunch of flops on our hands that are now worth half the money they will what we paid for them. So it becomes a bad commercial decision and it becomes an asset that's devalued. That hurts the club. That hurts the pockets of the club. And then when you look at players like Ericsson, Dele Alli, Lloris, Vertonghen, Lennon, Toby, Trippier, Walker, Rose, who were all under 15 million or 10 million, and they went on to be successful. So when you look at it from that point of view, and you're the owners, and I'm spending all this 30, 40 million here, I'm getting nothing back. I'm spending 10, 15 here, 8, 7, 6, 5 million Dele Alli, and I'm getting players. So the strategy then puts itself on his head of if you spend more, you get more. It's how well you spend it. And it's how well your recruitment is. And sometimes it's down to luck and coaching staff as well. Yes, Bruno Fernandes was amazing, but so was Tanga and Dembele. Yes, Grealish is amazing, but so is Dele Alli in that position. They're both competing for the same spot for England. So you have to look at a lot of, you know, it's not just spend. That's very easy to say. Everyone, listen, I would love it if we spent more. Don't get me wrong. And if Pochettino was backed more, he would have had more players. But you have to get rid of a player to bring a player in. And it is the balance of selling and buying, not just buying. And Levy, we know, he's a very he's a very balanced businessman that will only sell within his means. He'll only sell what the player's worth, and he'll only buy within his means. When he sold Bale, we bought all these players in, and some of them went on to be okay. Most of them didn't. So it's a very difficult balancing act of what I've just given you there of top 5 signings of 30 million, 40 million, you know, and then I've given you some signings of under 10 million. And most of them went on to be in that Champions League final. But look, there's no doubt about it that Levy could have spent more. Definitely if he'd backed Poch in those windows. We need to move on players and be happy to take a hit. We seem to be the only club that wants to sell a player for what we bought him for or more. And that mentality, you have to cut your losses sometimes, right? Davinson Sanchez is not worth what we paid for him. Soldado is not worth what we paid for him. You know, Rebrov, all these players, all these flops that we bought. But sometimes you have to cut your losses because Harry Kane's what came through on the freebie. Dele Alli is worth more than he was. Bale went on to be 100 million. So it's always a balanced sort of, you know, you lose some, you win some, you give and you take. And that's the way maybe Levy can be criticized. He's very, very strict and rigid in his give and take. You know, he needs to be happy to take a hit and he needs to be happy to back his manager. And I think the balance with Levy is too rigid and is too fine with him. And he runs the business from the business working itself, being self-sufficient and from the ground up. He doesn't come top heavy. He comes from the bottom up. Everything needs to support itself. You know, the whole machine has to run itself, whether it's making your own beer, whether it's, you know, having an academy, whether it's having the training facilities, whether it's having a manager that promotes young players and gets them into the team. So his whole business plan is about growing the business from the bottom up, not Manchester City, let's not talk about them. Chelsea, let's not talk about them. You know, these owners came with hundreds of millions of pounds and gave them, you know, freely to the club, their own personal money, because for them it was a hobby, it was a passion. We are not Man City, so we need to stop comparing ourselves to them. We are never going to be Man City. We are not Roman Abramovich and Chelsea, so let's stop. But if we finish above them, then that's a good season because we've done it with half the money, right? And then if you look at the revenues, you look at the revenues of Tottenham Hotspur, we're in the top 6. We never used to be in the top 6. We've gone above Arsenal. We're in the top 10 in Europe. So generally, financially speaking, the arrow's been up. Has Levy spent enough money? Probably not to every fan. Who doesn't want more money? Come on, especially when you're seeing other clubs spending so much money. But you have to say, I agree with Mike on he has done a fairly good job commercially. Our revenues are way higher than they've ever been. Listen, commercially speaking, I understand where David's coming from. If we've got all this revenue, where's it going? Because we're in the top 10. We're bringing in all this money. Where's it going?
The most valuable club in England right now.
And then I understand Mike's view, which is, well, the club's got to run itself, you know, and it's got to be a business before it's a football club, because we are supporting, whether we like it or not, a business. There's people that own Enic and own Tavistock Group, and we are owned by these companies. We are not owned by fans. So I'm sorry to say it and break it to everyone, but we don't own the club. I don't own a share. You don't own a share. We pay them to be entertained, just like you go to the cinema. On the weekend, you pay money, you get entertained, and you come home. Yes, you buy the shirt. Yes, you fall in love with the players in the area and everything that comes with it, the history. But at the end of the day, it's a form of entertainment, and that's what Sky is, and that's how they make their money. It's people watching television. So let's not get away from the fact of supporting a business, because if we start going club, and we stop mentioning the word business, we start looking like fools, because we start looking like guinea pigs and puppets that think we're just supporting a football club when we're supporting a business. And that's the problem.
To be honest with you, I actually think that's a very bad way of looking at it. First and foremost, before any of this was a business, it was a football club. First and foremost, this is a club. Second of all, without the fans, this club doesn't run. The fans own the club. No matter whose name is on the paper, the fans will always own the club. Third of all, to say we're not like Abramovich and City and stuff like that, it's a bad mentality to have. Because at the end of the day, what you're accepting is we're never going to win anything. Because it's shown in all the leagues around the world, it's shown across Europe and the Champions League, right, that when you invest and you put money into it, you win things. So basically you're telling me just to sit here and accept that we're never going to win anything because we're never going to invest. It's a very bad way to look at it.
I'll give you an example, yeah? So we could easily be where West Ham are now. We could easily be where, for example, Woolwich have slipped below us, yeah?
Do you know why we've won one League Cup? Do you know why we've won one League Cup? It's because we have this mentality. That's the problem.
Trophies doesn't define our success. Revenue, profit, and our league position defines our success. Trophy.
Oh my God, man! The whole point of playing football is to win trophies. Ronaldo doesn't come into football for success or for league positions. Ronaldo comes into football to win things. The whole basis of football. Let me finish. 1 second. The whole thing, right, about football, first and foremost, is about winning trophies, right? It's why Harry Kane's in football. It's why Heung-min Son's in football, is to win trophies. Everyone aspires to win trophies. That's the whole thing based around football.
But
sit here and say the top four is a trophy and making profit is a trophy is bullshit. It's all about trophies at the end of the day. That's why we support.
No, that's what you
I think Mike's want to say something. Go on, Mike.
Go for it.
Everyone's talking about wanting success on the pitch. But ask yourself this, David: what world-class player is going to want to come to Tottenham if we didn't have the world-class facilities? I wouldn't go to Tottenham if I was Ronaldo or your Messi's or anyone like that, and Tottenham came knocking on my door. As soon as I see the facilities, as soon as I see the stadium, I'll be like, "No, you're having a laugh, mate. I ain't going there. I'll go to somewhere else."
Yeah, but David, trophies
defines where players are moving to.
You need to
players
have
go to City aren't great. Like, you know what I mean? They don't even sell out the stadium. Players still go to City and play week in, week out. At the end of the day, players go where they have the possibility of winning the most trophies, and that's it. Simple as, first and foremost.
To do that, you need the facilities. You need the foundation to be set in place in order to attract world-class players, in order to attract the fans. At the end of the day, like Josh said, however you look at it, without the infrastructure in place, no world-class player is gonna, or ready-made world-class player is gonna come to Tottenham and want to play for us. You might get the odd one, you might get the odd two now and again, but the way Tottenham have been doing it is they've been developing world-class players like your Modric, like your Kanes, like your Sons, etc. But first and foremost, you need to be successful off the pitch to be successful on the pitch. And you look at the last 20 years, we have not been successful off the pitch, which is why we've struggled and why we've not been able to pay the stupid wages that some of these players now expect. Because let's be honest, they're all mercenaries. Footballers are mercenaries now. They've got no loyalty.
Flip that and say being successful on the pitch also helps in that. You can just flip that argument straight away. Being successful also, contributes to everything else. Like, the fact is, we haven't been successful on the pitch, which is another reason why we find ourselves in the situation we do right now. So you can just flip that. That's That's an argument with a lot of holes in it, in my opinion.
You know what? There's two sides to this debate. It's the chicken and egg, right? You put the money in, as David's saying, you buy the success. I mean, you literally buy it, because that's how you do it, like City have done, and you go and buy it. or you do the Tottenham way, which is organically grow and create a sustained business to last generations on generations, so that you're not putting the club at any risk of going down. It's got enough money to survive, even in the rainy days, whether it's COVID-19 or you've got a couple of bad finishes. You can put your hand in, just like the Bank of England has this money
they
to
haven't
give.
been doing that. We're in debt,
Right
Josh.
now,
They haven't been doing that.
No, not that debt, not the stadium debt. I'm saying enough money in the pot to keep going every season to survive. So do you spend recklessly or do you spend safely? No, you don't. You find a middle ground. You don't spend recklessly because the club's more important, and you don't spend too safe because you have to be ambitious. So it's ambition versus sustainability of the long-term future of the club. And Levy is trying to grow the club from the bottom up. I get that, and well done to you. You've done a fantastic job. We finished from 15th to 10th to now our average position being top 4, top 5. The next step up is top 2, top club in the league. We nearly did it. Listen, if we'd won that Champions League final, everyone's sitting here saying Levy's great, Poch is great. We're 90 minutes away from actually doing it, and we're acting like we're 9,000 miles away from it. We're not. We're actually quite close, but we just need that last little boost. And I say little boost, we're talking hundreds of millions to take us to the next level. But I know what Levy will not do. He will not put the club's accounts at risk in any way, or the shareholders' position at risk, without doing it organically. And you have to be patient with Tottenham, because to be fair, in his 21-year reign, or whatever it is, 19, 20 years, whatever it is, he's taken the club from Alan Sugar to where it is now. And maybe he's out of his depth now. We don't know. We'll find out, because obviously the machine that he's built is going to start paying off now. We've built this glorious facility that's going to bring in ticket revenue and sponsorship revenue. So the jury's still out on Levy. I don't think we can say he's done a bad job. I don't think we can say he's done an amazing job. Personally, I feel he's done an okay job. But look, we are challenging with the elite now. We're on their doorsteps, whether it's City, whether it's United, Liverpool, all those deep pockets that have global revenues are much higher than us. Forget the UK and what we achieve here. Globally, what Liverpool, United, and all these guys are achieving, Real Madrid, is crazy. But we're in the top 10 in Europe, guys. Top 10 in Europe. That's an achievement in itself. That's an achievement.
Guys, can we have Lily White? I think he's waiting. He's itching to have a little say. Go on, Lily White. Go on, mate.
Look, I'll say something now, and then I want to pass it straight over to the Sussex Hotspur, because he's been waiting there the entire time to speak. But I'll say this, right? I'll say this. You say we were 90 minutes away from winning that Champions League. At the end of the day, we didn't win that Champions League. All right, we can be frustrated and as annoyed and upset as we are, but at the end of the day, we didn't win that. And I feel like looking at it from a standpoint as, we wonder why we get this Spursy tag when this board isn't willing to invest, and every single time we bottle it when we come so close. And for you to say, we're nearly at that point. Yeah, we're nearly at that point, but we're not at that point yet. We're not at that point yet for 2 reasons. One, because of this board and Joe Lewis, and 2, because of the players and the lack of investment from everyone, the higher-ups and everything. The sacking of the managers over the past 20 years has been absolutely disgusting. It's been ridiculous. You give a manager 2 years and you give him about, 50 million over those 2 years, over 4 transfer windows, and you go, okay, and this is what's happened with so many. Martin Yole, all these managers that we've sacked over the past few years. Harry Redknapp, he got carried away with the England job. Okay, but you look at these managers and you look at it from a standpoint as these managers got so little investment and so little time before they got sacked by this board, and the board isn't willing to take blame themselves. They will not take blame for anything themselves. And it makes me sick, because this board, Enic and Jolis and all of them, they will not take blame. And they've tried to shut us up with recent things. And I'm just not doing it anymore, because the reason we're in this position, and you can say, we came so close. At the end of the day, what matters is what's going on right now.
Charlie,
right now in the Premier League. Premier League, we're on awful form. We just lost 3-0 to Manchester City, right? And although we beat Wolfsburger, that's good. But honestly, the reason we're in this position is because of the lack of investment into players. And I can't keep stating that it's been players that this board keeps investing in. You can say we've got good training facilities. No, you can say we've got good training facilities. You've got a good stadium. But what have we got to show for that good stadium? What have we got to show? One Carabao Cup, and that is down to this board. That is down to this board.
Right, guys, can you hang on there, guys? Wait on, guys. I've got some comments here, guys. We've got Rob here. He's saying it's not buy. But when we're in the box seat for these guys, we pass it up for a few extra. Enic has got a voice on your channel. Well said, Irish, David there. Kev says, I disagree with that, David. He's talking old school football, which is what we want and love. Ross is right. The reality is it's a business, and Premier League clubs are no longer reality reliant on fans going to games. Guys, Yeah,
Can I respond to
quickly
that?
then,
Enic
Kevin, what I'd say to you is just look at the girls' model. The reason why that hasn't took off the ground is because they don't have the fans, they don't have the people buying the jerseys, they don't have the ticket sales, they don't have match day revenue. So this whole idea that, where we've suddenly took football from the fans and we think, football is survive without fans is absolutely nonsense. Okay, I get football as a business now, I can get that. But to say it survived without fans, honestly, is a non-goal. All you have to do is look at the women's game. How many times do they say, in order for this game to grow, we need to attract fans. We need to get fans involved. We need to get people to enjoy what we're pushing out. So this whole idea that football can survive without fans is complete nonsense. How many clubs around the world are struggling right now because they don't have match day revenue from the fans? Fans will always own football. Fans, football won't go without fans. There's no Tottenham Hotspur without the fans, honestly. The whole reason why you look at even lower league teams, the reason why they struggle, and you hear them say, is because they don't have the fan base. They do not have the fan base. That's why they can't that's why they can't get the best players, and that's why they're down there, and that's why they're small clubs. Fan base matters. So first and foremost, I think my point is proven there. The fans own football. The fans own the club. Without the club, it's nothing. So first and foremost, you may say it's an old school way of looking at it. I get it. It's a business, but it's nothing without fans. No business survives without customers. It's the same with football.
Right. Thank you very much, Dave. Brilliant. Mate, I think Mike wants to say something. Then we're over to the Tottenham Hotspur because he's got 2 questions he wants to fire over. Got on, Mike.
I was just going to say, I agree with what David says there about the fans, but it's a balance. It is a very much balancing act between business and fans. But going on to the point about it, the on-field problems are Enic's fault. I don't agree with that at all. I mean, you've got when you look at what goes on the pitch, it's down to two people. Well, I say 2 people. It's down to 2 things. 1, it's down to the players, and 2, it's down to the manager. Now, a manager can bang on to the board about wanting players, wanting investment, etc., etc. If the board are providing that, and let's be honest, from that season where we was challenging Chelsea, we did have a good enough squad to win that league, but it's down to player mentality. That and the managers and manager himself, it's down to their mentality. You can't say it's Enic's fault that we're performing badly on the pitch. Enic don't go on the pitch and dictate our tactics or dictate how we play or dictate where players get put into positions. That's the manager's. That lies with the manager. But so I think it's a very fine balancing act. There's no point, and we can't go out and buy 11 or 22 world-class players because the squad needs to be balanced. You can't have a squad of 11 world-class players because it just wouldn't work. You look at Liverpool; they haven't got world-class players. They've got maybe 3 or 4. Then they've got 3 or 4 very good players, and then they've got a squad of players that are good. But this is what I'm just trying to say is it needs to be a finely balanced squad between world-class players to players that are decent and happy to sit on the bench but are good enough if they're called upon, they can do a job wherever that might be on the pitch. That's why I just wanted to
add to that, Mike. Look, that's one way of looking at it, but again, you can also look at it I agree we had a good enough squad that year, but we also had a lot of injured players in the squad. So looking at it from the January point of view, the board were in a position to make a good go of it and sign 1 or 2 to help us get over the line. As well, in terms of saying that the performances on the pitch is down to management and players, I agree to a certain extent. But the board have a big say on that with the money they're ready with the money that they're ready to invest in a player. You know what I mean? How many times have we seen if you spend that extra few million, we have a better quality player than the player we bring in? But because, for instance, we could be sitting here talking about Bruno Fernandes right now. There was about 5-10 million between the deal happening. He came out publicly and said he wanted to come to Tottenham. But what do? No, we negotiated a cheaper deal for Lo Celso, and we ended up getting Lo Celso. Where's Lo Celso been? Injured for the last 30 games. Do you know what I mean? at the end of the day, where's Bruno Fernandes been? He's been on the pitch every game for United. He's been a leader. He's took United from, you know what I mean, what I thought would have been a mid-table team due to fluctuations of results to winning every week because of that guy. So the board do have to take responsibility for this, because it is about pushing the boat out and getting that extra bit of quality for that extra few pounds. Do you know what I mean? But what the board tried to do is sign cheaper players, but more in quantity. That model, we're not at that level anymore. We're not that team that's growing.
Can I just add to that?
That need to grow players and sell them on. We're at that point now where we need to spend that extra few million and get that quality in and get us over the line.
But would you say we have the strength and depth?
No, being honest, no. Like,
no. But surely that the investment we've made now in those players that have come in gives us, on paper, that strength and depth. Because on paper, this squad that we've got now is good enough to be competing. It's good enough to be competing on 3 of the cups that we're in, or we were in: FA Cup, Europa, and the Carabao. The squad is strong enough to compete, but again, it does boil down to the fact that, again, player mentality, managers' tactics. There's obviously things that have happened behind the scenes that we're never going to know about that has affected the team in some way, shape, or form of recent. But
I get what you're saying, but as well, Mike, if you look at Poch's prime squad compared to the squad we have now, so like under Pochettino, we had Toby Alderweireld, Jan Vertonghen. Now, Jan Vertonghen went this summer. We didn't replace him. What we went and done is got Joe Rodon when we should have went and got another world-class centre-back. You know what I mean? First and foremost, to win games, you have to keep teams out. We can't do that. So what's happened is, at the time, we could afford to buy David Sanchez, a player that has potential, because we already had the best partnership in Europe at the time with Toby and Vertonghen. Now, we sold Vertonghen. Okay, we know why. You know, the concussion played a big part in it. I get that. But Toby's also getting over the hill. So, like, this summer, instead of going and getting Joe Rodon, this was the time to go and get a quality world-class centre-back, and they were available. Then you look at Kyle Walker. Now, Trippier was only ever back up to Kyle Walker. We sold Kyle Walker, and then Trippier is now your starting right back. My opinion wasn't good enough. He cost us so many times. And then Aurier. Aurier was only ever Trippier's backup. He was never ever going to start ahead of Trippier. So now we're in a position where we've gone from Kyle Walker, we've decreased to Trippier, decreased to Aurier, and then we've decreased again to Doherty. So the signings, like, you know, the investment they're spending, it's not wise. And then you go on to the left-hand side. We had prime Danny Rose. Now, we've only sorted that out this season with regular. But, like, we still have Ben Davies. You know, he's been at the club 7 years and hadn't nailed down a left-back spot. You go into midfield. We had Moussa Dembele. We had Victor Wanyama. Now, we've only kind of addressed that, and we got lucky with Ndombele because it didn't look like it was going to work out. Only that he wanted to prove Mourinho wrong. So we got lucky with that. Højbjerg is a direct replacement for Wanyama, like for like. But Ndombele is not the same player Dembele is. Ndombele used to be the sort of player that could pick the ball up from the back line and get us all the way up the pitch to the forward line himself. Now, we've never replaced him. We've got Ndombele. Now, for me, Ndombele is more of an attacking midfielder, in my opinion. I think that's where he's best. But then, like, you know, you also look at Christian Eriksen. Like, we never replaced Christian Eriksen, and that's why you're seeing Harry Kane having to evolve his game and play 2 roles, essentially, in this Tottenham team. The creative role and the finishing role. Do you know what I mean? Like, so...
But that's only because
the investment hasn't been wise.
Mike, I think Josh is waiting patiently in that middle. I think he wants to say that. Go on, Josh.
Look, look, you guys, both of you have good points, right? So that's why we're debating this, because there's no clear answer. This show wouldn't even be live right now if there wasn't a real debate to be had. So I respect both sides of the opinion here. I do think Levy's done a good job overall off the pitch. On the pitch, he could have put his hand in his pocket more. It's obvious that we need a new left back, but Reguilon's been injured. So you just mentioned injury there. Lo Celso, you know, injury. It's been difficult, you know. Obviously, if you look at Kane's injury, we look completely toothless, but then we should have had a better backup in Carlos, you know, development project, not really the finished article. But there's never a guarantee that a player is always going to work out when you spend money on him. There's a lot of examples in the Premier League where it's also not worked out. So it's not always a guarantee that you spend 60, 70 million and you're always going to get something back for it. But yes, Bruno Fernandes, yes, if you look at Jack Grealish, yes, if you look at some of these examples, yes, in recent years, Levy looks like he's got egg on his face right now because they've turned out to be great players. Bruno Fernandes looks £100 million player right now, you know. But again, what was the guarantee he was going to go from the Portuguese league to the Premier League and do what he's done? I don't think anyone in their right mind predicted that Bruno Fernandes was going to go on to do what he did, you know. So
you got.
Yeah, but you know what? That's all. But there's players that have come from there. Look at Nani. Nani was supposed to be the next Ronaldo. So there's always ups and downs from different leagues. Tanguy, we got him. Other clubs didn't go for him. But look, we got ourselves not a bargain, but it looks like a really good buy. Heung-min Son. You didn't know if he was going to do it if he could do it in Germany, if he could do it in the Premier League from Germany. He's done it. Cavani. People said Cavani was done. He's doing it. So it's not a lottery. But what I'm saying is there's a lot of uncertainty when you buy big players because you've got a lot to lose. A lot of money.
I get that. But what I'm saying, Josh, is that like we're selling the likes of Kyle Walker, Luka Modric, Gareth Bale, players like that for massive
money. Put the money back in. I know what you're saying. Put the money back in.
When you sell these players, you have to buy a player of the same equivalent because otherwise you are. But like when you sell a player like that, you can't just keep going for investments and hoping to work out. There comes a point where you have to, when you sell quality, you have to replace it with quality, the exact same, and you keep kicking on. And that's why we are where we are at on the pitch right now because we haven't done it. We haven't, like, if we sold Kyle Walker, we haven't put that money into world-class right back. We've got to sign two right backs, so that's it.
The point of selling is just as important as the point of buying. And you've got to be a good salesman before you can even think about buying because you've got to get the money in, right? And we've not been...
From a standpoint as the way I look at Levy is every single time, and not just Levy, this board, is every single time we want a player, they have cost us so many times in not getting that player because they tried to lower down the price tag. For example, here's the issue. Every single time we go to buy a player, right? And here's the issue. Every single time we sell a player, we either sell them for much more than they're worth or keep the negotiations going on and on and on. And the issue is when we go to buy a player, here's the issue. They'll set a price tag. They'll say, okay, Skriniar, 60 million. Our board go, okay, how about 20 million? No way. How about 25? No. And here's the issue. Every single time we go for a player, they will capitalise on the second best player, second on Jose Mourinho's list. And I see what you mean by, last summer, okay, Jose was back with some players that he wants. For me, at the 7 players we brought in, only 2 of those were on top of Jose's list. I don't know that for certain, and those are regular on Højbjerg because those 2 are paying off. When people say you wanted Vinicius, no, Diego Costa was top of that list. Diego Costa was his top man to actually get. As a backup goalkeeper, he didn't really want Joe Hart. We capitalised on Joe Hart because we couldn't get a better backup keeper. He wanted Hugo's long-term replacement last summer. That's why we're going to have to do it this summer. And the issue is, every single time a big player leaves the club, our board will not. They won't swap him for another big player. They'll basically bring in the lowest player they possibly can because they're not willing to invest in a top tier player, for example, right? And this is the reason this club is going downhill right now. And I honestly believe if we can't win something this season, we're going to keep on going downhill. And that's because of this board. And finally, it's coming to cost them because they've been let off it for so long with the youth development and bringing players in. And if I can give them credit for anything, it's the youth development of the club. But what I'm trying to get at here is, for example, every single time a big player leaves the club, we don't replace him with another big player. We replace him with a smaller player who simply isn't good enough because our board won't invest in another big player. And that's the reason we have certain players such as Serge Aurier starting right now. Serge Aurier, okay, he's performing. But, we should be sitting here with a top-tier right back ever since Kyle Walker left and then Trippier left. Serge Aurier was our 3rd right back up. He was our 3rd backup right back, right? We would never play Serge Aurier. But ever since Pochettino left, we've been... We have to pay Serge Aurier, and that's why it confuses me for people who say Jose out, because you've got to look at it from a standpoint as this manager and whoever would have been manager right now. I don't think Pep Guardiola would succeed at Tottenham because you've got to look at it as the group of players were backups for Pochettino, Pochettino's Deadwood, the likes of Eric Lamela. Is he a decent player? Yes. Is he good enough for Tottenham Hotspur? No. Half of this team right now are actually Pochettino's backups or 3rd backups who are simply only getting the start because our board wasn't willing to invest.
Who's the backup? Right, who would you say the backups are?
Mike, before you get there, mate, thanks, guys. It's been a great debate so far, guys. Matt has got a question. Matt, fire the question over, pal.
Yes, guys. How you all doing? Good?
Big up.
Look into the future, or more of the club. We've gone through the past and the present at the moment. What do you think the future of Enic and Daniel Levy is? I'll go to Josh first.
I think the future looks pretty rosy for Enic because we've got all this Premier League money which just increases every year. We've got fantastic infrastructure at the club now for a buyer looking for a 10 to 20-year investment and return because of the Premier League money. The product that is the Premier League just keeps growing. And we've got some clever people running it, whether we like it or not. Maybe some greedy buggers as well, and some corrupt buggers. But on the whole, they're spreading the Premier League like no other league globally. So if you're buying a product that's in a market that's growing at that rate, quids in, right? First of all, that's why a lot of Premier League clubs want to be bought by so many different investors, because they see the market. It's the market that's growing, not just the product. So first of all, we're in a very fast, evolving, growing, dynamic market with your Netflix and all these other online digital platforms that will start showing Premier League games eventually because of the way just the television's going. It's going to become totally mobile. And then if you look off the pitch and we look at the sponsorship and we look at everything else that's coming in, you know, the match day revenues up like it's never been before. The assets like your Harry Kanes, your Heung-min Sons, they all hold a value and they all come in the P&L. And at the end of the day, Enic commercially will go on to do well. So if they sell it, hopefully they sell it to an owner that's got a good pair of hands and has invested interest in the club's success, not just in the club's financials. You know, I see these guys selling at some point. But in the meantime, unfortunately, whether we like it or not, we've got we've got directors running this club very prudently. And they're not going to, I hate to break it to you guys, but they're not going to break the bank to compete with City and Chelsea. They're going to stick to their wage policy, which is 75 grand a week coming in. If you earn your money, you get to 150 like Son and Kane. And they're going to buy players that are young with resale values. They're not going to go for necessarily the global superstar, whether it's Bruno Fernandes or Paul Pogba, or whoever United have been doing. We go in there, we flirt, but unfortunately we keep the pretty girl warm, and so the guy at the end walks in with the Ferrari and takes her home. But guys, that is the policy, that is the transfer policy, that is the wage policy. And I don't think Levy's going to spend millions and millions and millions on the basis that it might be a waste if those players don't go on to be successful. Because now you've got a bunch of 5 players on 150 grand a week that you spent 200 million on or 300 million on, and it's just not happening on the pitch. So it's chicken and egg. Are you going to put all your eggs in one basket and spend all that money, or are you going to slowly just develop your eggs as you go along?
And when they say that, we haven't tried it. It's the only thing
we haven't tried it. We haven't tried it for a reason, because of Levy's financial, in his mind, his financial acumen to run the club as a business before a successful sports club. He would rather go down the organic route, which is why he's growing the club from the bottom up with the stadium and everything else, and say, right, you know what, I'm willing to lose, 4 players that I bought for 50 million each. I'm willing to lose them for 100 million, right? I bought four things from the market. If you went to the market and you bought 4 things for £400 and you go back to the market next week and they're worth £200, you've lost £200. When you're happy to lose money, you spend money. But when you're not happy to lose money, you don't spend money. And that's the problem, or whatever you want to look at it. Some people look at it as great business practice. Others will look at it as like tight git, not spending on the club. But whichever way you look at it, he's taken the club from, like I say, those revenues mentioned before to what they are now. So he's built a very safe, steady house, guys. We're up there now, touching on the levels of elite, right? With the stadium, with the attraction to a player. We've got every attraction to a player bar the wages, right? Once we've got them in, we've got the best facilities, living in London, all the great things that come with the Premier League. Once we get back into the Champions League, we've got that. So we should be able to sign the Tanguy on Dembele's.
Yeah, but Josh, that all sounds wonderful and, rosy and all in an ideal world. But all you've done there is contradict yourself. I'm not being smart. You've just thrown out contradictions and comparing us to markets and stuff like this. At the end of the day, success also brings revenue. It also brings bigger fan base. It also brings everything else.
Yes, it does.
You know what I mean? At the end of the day, what you're saying, now that we have the safe house, people are going to come. They ain't coming if we don't get European football next season.
Yeah, so this is why
this is with a multi-million-pound stadium and no European football.
David, this is why it's such a fine. This is why being a chairman of a football club is such a fine. If you listen to your ex-chairmans,
we get that. We know it's fine margins, but the point is it good enough? That's the point. We know it's fine margins.
It's simply balancing success on and off the pitch, not just on.
We haven't had success, so there's no balance.
Yes, we have. When you finish in the top 4,
it's not a trophy job.
You guys have only won the big
season and raise your arms.
As much
the game's not staying for top 4. That's not a trophy game.
Listen, we've not had top 4 money.
Trophy is something physical. You need.
we haven't. Listen, forget physical things. I'm talking
Look,
financial.
But if you want to call it a business,
What was that trophy, Josh?
One at a time, guys. One at a time.
It's most importantly over a business.
You literally just said top four is a trophy. You don't get a trophy.
No, because over a business, it's more. Over the business, it's more of a football club. The football club is what matters. People buy into the football club. The reason we support it is because it's a football club, right? And the lack of investment into this football club, and the reason we're not.
Would you support Tottenham? Would you support Tottenham if would you support Tottenham if they were in a relegation fight every year?
Yes, of course I would, man. I'm born and bred Tottenham. No matter what situation I'm in, I'm going to support them.
So
that's a stupid question. We're not talking about my support. Or anyone's support. We're talking about Enic. Is it good enough? You're saying top four is a trophy. It's not a trophy. You don't get anything physical for it. Harry Kane doesn't count as a trophy. That's why he wants to go.
One at a time.
You're a fan that supports Tottenham because you love the club. But unfortunately, outside the UK or the area you live in, there's fans that support the club because of its global presence and its success in Asia, in America, right? It's a brand. It's a business brand, right? Whether you like it or not. It sells hats. It sells T-shirts, right? They don't never come to see Tottenham in their life. They've never even been to the UK, but they buy that merchandise.
Doesn't mean they're not fans. They could be just as passionate as us.
They buy that merchandise because they buy into the club.
They buy into the club.
Not the business side of things. When you're 5 years old and for example, wearing a Tottenham Hotspur shirt, you're not thinking about Daniel Levy or that. You're thinking, yes, Tottenham Hotspur, I love this club. My one and only club. This is my club, my one and only club. This is my business, my one
to buy success. To buy success, you have to build a sustainable business to go spend the money, right? The money don't come from the sky. So you have to build a business before you build anything. You can't build a football club without building a business, guys.
Football club was here before the business. Remember that.
I agree with what Josh is saying.
Get Josh, let Mike in, guys.
Yeah, is that Mike Evans' view? Yeah,
I totally agree with what Josh is saying here. And this boils down to to that point of building infrastructure, building from the bottom, building to the top. We haven't got the money that Man City's have, the Chelsea's have. That's the simple fact of the matter. So we're never going to go out and just blow 200 odd million over a period of a season or 2 seasons on numerous players and rebuild a squad in one transfer window. It's just never going to happen. What Enic have done is, where we failed from previous seasons, is we haven't had the strength in the depth of the squad. So the players that have come in theory, should be good enough as backup players. Hence why you can't tell me Davis isn't a good enough backup. I mean, he's been fairly solid this season. He's not going to. He is. He is. He's a good enough.
Oh my God, man.
He's a backup. He's a good enough backup. That's what you want.
This is the problem,
David, you can't have a world-class backup. It's just not. You just can't do it. Who's going to be world-class and sit on a bench where you can?
I'm not asking for man. You're taking me out of context. I'm not asking for world-class players. I'm not asking for 200 million net spends every summer. What I'm asking you for is adequate signings. Ben Davies, if you look back over his career, he has not been a good enough backup for Tottenham. He wouldn't make half of the teams in the Premier League.
He's an international football player.
How is he an international player? He plays for a small country in Wales.
Because of the board. The only reason Ben Davies, Davidson, Sanchez, Lamela, the only reason they're here is because
all international players.
Their lack of investment and selling these players on and actually gaining the money to invest. And why are we renewing a contract with Ben Davies, who I get you can say he's a backup. I mean, even saying he's a good enough backup is a massive push, even for Tottenham Hotspur. Let alone, you put him in mix, but you playing for Ipswich Town, he's not a good enough backup when you look at Ben Davies' career.
He's been playing in the Premier League for the last 10 years. He's been playing in the Premier League for the last 10 years at left back. He's an international. Hold on.
He's had 6 years. He's had 6 years to adjust that position, and he hasn't.
Look, honestly, I know you're going to say the international thing, but I wouldn't be bringing up the international team because Wales have a very small pool of people to pick from. Doherty is also an international player, and we have a small pool to pick from.
You're never going to get a world-class player as a backup.
Not asking for world-class.
Exactly. After Mike, we'll go to Matt and his second question.
He's a sufficient backup. When you look at the rest of that Tottenham squad, they are sufficient backups. You look at Liverpool's squad. They haven't got world-class players sat on that bench. They haven't got very good players sat on that bench. They've got decent squad players who can come in and who can do a job. Davis can come in. He can do a job. He's not everyone's favourite, but he's a solid left-back, experienced left-back, which you can argue we haven't got if Reguilon's injured. If Davis isn't there, there isn't anyone. Taganga's not experienced. When you look at our centre-backs, again, Sanchez, he was brought in because he had the potential to be a great player. He's cost us time and time again. He isn't good enough. We all know that. And yeah, maybe he should get shipped out at the end of the season to bring in someone that is either world class, who can start week in, week out, or if Mourinho likes Eric Dyer, and if he does like Rodon and Toby, then the answer is he buys another backup defender who's good enough to come in and develop to become a world class player, or the player that we want him to be. But where we've failed previously is the fact that we have not had strength and depth in our squad. And that's been the case. When Kane's been injured, we haven't had anyone to back him up. When Son's been injured, we've not had anyone to back up. But you can't tell me that squad now, on paper, isn't good enough.
How many years has the board had to find their backups, by the way?
Yeah.
Pardon?
How many years have the board had to find Kane and Son's backups?
They've had, arguably they've had enough time. But have we been in that position where we can go out and spend the money to back up the squad that we need to be able to perform and challenge?
Well, yeah, because remember because you said to me earlier on that we bought Ndombele and we spent this amount of money. So
you can't tell me
you actually answered your own question earlier on with that answer by saying we had this money to spend.
But we haven't, though. You can't tell me.
You have, because you told me earlier on that we spent 140 odd million. So therefore, the money is there to spend. Yeah.
We've been lucky in the pandemic that Levi spent 113 million. We haven't got that money to spend in the summer. The only way we're going to be able to do that is if he does a bit of wheeling and dealing. Because the fans
you were saying that we didn't have the money before to do it, and over the years that we've had to do it, but we have had the money because we still spent money. So the money has been there to find their backups. We just haven't done it. What we've done is brought in the cheapest option every time. I
mean, you could go to I know you mentioned Ndombele, but Ndombele, you can't tell me he's a bad player. You can't tell me he's not gonna. He'll probably go on from Tottenham to probably in a couple of years' time. He'll be probably playing for Real Madrid or Barcelona or PSG or someone like that. And he's probably the player that we're going to sacrifice in the summer to bring some money into the club that is much needed because of the debts that we've got. I think that's the truth of the matter on that.
Guys,
it's my thoughts. It's only my opinion, but
no, thanks, Mike. It was a good point.
So guys, before we bring Matt second question, guys, it's absolutely fantastic seeing all these different opinions. It's absolutely fantastic seeing people backing Enic and their way going forward with David and Lily White Lane saying that the ball's not been spent enough. I'm both for both, guys. On commercially side, the board has done great. The big stadium, fancy training grounds and things like that. But I've always said it. It's not worth. I think we've done it the wrong way around. We haven't built a great squad first before we go into a nice stadium. I think that's how we should have done it. Because if you look at people say, "Oh, we haven't got Roman's money," Roman ain't gone and built a massive stadium for Chelsea. He's concentrated on that squad to winning trophies. He's bringing the best. He's bringing the best coaches. He's bringing the best players. He's spent the money, and he doesn't really. So he's concentrating on the squad first before he builds this massive stadium for Chelsea. So he's going to take a good squad into that stadium. And I think we've done it the wrong way around, guys. I think we have, and we haven't got a great squad to compete in. And I think that's where, and I think going down, they failed us buying, as David said there, they haven't, we lost the likes of Vertonghen and we get a cheaper backup. We lost like Ericsson, then we get like a cheaper backup. And it's things like that, what Enic do and what the board do. And I really do think we need investment for a long time. And I think they have let us down. They really have. Commercially wise, Mike, I can see where he's coming. For the commercially wise, the nice stadium, that's what they're concentrating. Bringing a load of money into the club and things like that. But it's the playing field, and this is what David and the Lily White's saying. They've failed.
But I really don't understand the bit where we failed, because we've just spent £113 million in the summer. How is that a failure in investment?
You just said we don't have the money to spend to find replacement. Now you're saying we spent 113 million.
I'm saying from the summer we've spent 130 million, but you guys are saying we haven't had the investment in the squad. So what's 130 million pounds?
But Mike, if you say that, what they brought in the summer, and someone said it here earlier, we brought 7 players in, and only 2 of them start. And that just says it all.
Yeah,
Only
no,
2
that
out
doesn't-
of the
but
7 start.
what's the point in
And
having
yeah,
what's the point in having a good 11 squad if you haven't got the strength and depth in the
But
squad?
the problem is, Josh, the problem is,
get
Mike,
it. I really
we don't
don't get
have
it.
a good 11. We don't have a
have
good
got-
11. That's the
You look
problem.
at that, no, that's bollocks. We have.
Look at the
You look at that
results.
11.
Look at the players that stepped in.
Hang
The
on.
results
Look at
tell you.
Liverpool. Right, look
The
at
results are
Liverpool.
telling you
Let me
this.
just say
You need to
something.
wake up. The results are there for you to
Look
see.
at Liverpool's squad.
We're not
look where they
Liverpool.
are.
We're talking
Yeah,
about
but
our
Look where
results.
they are.
Look
Look
at
where
our
they are at the
results. Our
moment.
results are there to tell you it hasn't been good enough.
Liverpool are Premier
They're
League
fifth in the league,
champions.
lads.
They beat us in
They
the
have
Champions
got a
League
better
final. Why?
squad than us. They have a better squad than us,
Yeah, but
and they are not in the top 4. They're not in the top 4 at the moment. So,
Mike,
so you can't tell
Mike-
me, lads. Hold on, Simon. You can't tell me that we have not got a good enough squad. We have on paper that squad is
We
good
don't
enough.
even have a good enough 11. The results have proven that. The results have been there the last few weeks for you to see this. The players that have come in have cost us. These individual errors every week have cost us, right? And you're telling me these players are good enough? Seriously, look at the results. Look at the games. They're there. The evidence is there.
Guys, can we hang on there? Mike, you're going about this fantastic 11 we have, and this is the one.
I'm not saying it's fantastic.
Yeah, but like
You did. You said a minute ago it was good enough.
It's good.
That's exactly
It's
what
good.
you're saying.
That's the
You're saying there's
difference.
no issues.
It's
and
not good.
I'm not. Listen to what I'm saying carefully. I've said, and I'll repeat this again, so we can all get bear with what I'm saying. We have got a good enough squad. I'm not saying it's a fantastic squad. If it was fantastic, we'd be at the top of the league. But it's strong enough. It's good enough.
It's not. Look at the results. And as well, just on you were saying, just listen to you carefully so we can hear what you're saying. I have been listening to you carefully, and it's very hard to know what you're saying because on one hand, when I said about, let me finish. On one hand, when I said about Son and Kane, you said we haven't had the money to invest. But then on the other hand, you're sitting here naming off the millions we spent. So it's hard to know where you stand, to be honest.
Yeah, but David, we didn't spend millions on Kane though. He came through for the youth team.
Yeah, but look,
I'm not on about spending millions for Kane, man. I'm on about the backup. We've had so much time and money to spend to get his backup and have an adequate striker when he's out injured. Same as Son, have a backup for that. To have a decent back four now. We spent adequate money, but it hasn't been on good enough players. This is the point.
I disagree with it. I think the backup is at this season and last season. Well, this season, should I say, the backup for the 11 is on paper strong enough. With what you're saying, David, about the results haven't been good enough, that's down to form. That's down to us not performing.
League position as well. Look at league position.
That's not the top squad. The team's not. But that's because you're going on about form. You're not going about. That's not the team not being good enough. You're talking about aspects of us not performing well enough. That's the difference.
No. Because you look at our starting 11, for example, right? And you look at our backups. Is Harry Winks good enough? Let's be honest here. No. Davinson Sanchez. No. Eric Dyer. No. So we're stuck in a position where
Eric Dyer is an England international. How is he not good enough?
No.
Oh my God, man! Seriously, you are plucking at straws here.
As a backup,
everyone in league mocks us every week about Eric Dyer. Just because he has a cap beside him, like Lewis Dunk for Brighton has an international cap. There's loads of players I can pick from across the world that have an international cap. International caps have nothing to do with it because it depends on the pool of players they have to pick from. That's ludicrous. That is an honestly non-starter.
How many English centre backs at the moment?
Harry Maguire has a load of English caps. Is he good enough? No, he's costing United week in, week out.
That's debatable. Where are Man United in the league at the moment? They're second.
The thing is, England have poor centre backs to pick from.
Huh?
England have poor centre backs to pick from, and that's why. That's why these players have got caps.
Yeah, but you look at our starting 11.
Eric Dyer is good enough. Is a good enough backup to the 11 we've got.
I think when we have everyone fit, I do think we have a good front 11. I do. I think when you got Ricky on back,
paper, it's a strong 11.
I want to say something now though, because
I think it's a strong enough 11.
You look at our starting 11, and I'll just say this quickly, and then I'll let everyone speak, right? And then I'll shut myself up because I can't stop talking. Let's be honest here. But I'm going to be honest here. Eric Dyer is simply not good enough. Okay, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. He's let us down week in, week out with individual mistakes. Not staying with this man, ball watching. It's stuff you learn at the age of 5 years old. For example, I know not to ball watch. I'm only 13 years of age. I know not to ball watch. Ball watch is game in, game out, costs us points. Done. That's him over. Davinson Sanchez fell flat on his face. Do I really need to comment on him? There's no everyone in this team is inconsistent. Apart from Harry Kane, Heung-min Son, and Højbjerg, for me, everyone is inconsistent. You never know the way they're going to come out. For example, Harry Winks, is he good enough for this team? Let's be honest here. No, we've got so many players and so much dead wood from Pochettino, who, let's be honest here, were in the reserves when Pochettino was here. Half of them were in the reserves when Pochettino were here, and half
Harry
of them were
Winks wasn't in the reserves. Harry Winks was a
Yeah, but
starter
Harry
under
Winks-
Poch.
Yeah, but you look at Harry
Well, why
Winks
was
and you see
hang on?
how many
Just to
But that's-
clarify this, the reason why
that's a
Harry Winks
invalid
became a
argument.
starter. Just to clarify this, the reason why Harry Winks became a starter under Pochettino is because when Yama was out injured and we saw Moussa Dembele, so we had no one else but him to play there. So let's make before you throw in that stat, you have to think of why he was in the squad, and that's why the reason why he was playing is because we saw Moussa Dembele, and when Yama was injured, and we literally had nobody else to play there. That's why he was playing. It's not because he was good enough to play there. It's because we had nobody else.
It still had him Dembele playing then. He was still in the squad.
No, Dembele was sold. That's why
he
Harry
was
Winks got into the team.
Davies is good enough. You say that Ben Davies is good enough. The guy gets spun like a roundabout, game in, game out. My nan could probably spin Ben Davies with a jam sandwich in her hand because it's not very hard. It's every single game that we play right now. Ben Davies and Charlie THFC gave me the stat as well when I was on your channel, David. He got spun 6 times in that City game, run onto 6 games. Constantly gets run onto. Constantly. Every game.
How many games has he played without
after
arrest?
Mike, we'll go back to Matt for your second
How many
question,
games has these players played without arrest? You can't tell me Davis he's played. I want to say he's probably played about 10 games on the trot, probably without arrest. You can't tell me fatigue doesn't come into that argument there.
Sure, he's been resting for the last 6 years. What sort of fatigue should there be?
Yeah, but Davis hasn't been the first choice left back for the last 6 years.
Yeah, but he's
why? Because he hasn't been good enough, and now all of a sudden there you're telling me.
I'm not saying no, David. I haven't said he's.
You
good
did
enough.
say he was good enough. He hasn't been good enough. He's been here 6 years.
As a backup, what is? Does no one? I said he's good enough for a backup. I've never said he's good enough to be in the first 11. I started.
If he's a good enough backup, then surely he doesn't keep coming in and making mistakes he makes. Then no.
Yeah, but it's not just.
Surely a backup is supposed to be steady.
You can't. Lloris makes mistakes. Dyer makes mistakes. Sanchez makes mistakes.
Yeah, but they play week in, week out.
You can't just blame one player. Like, we can't just keep scapegoating one player all the time. Like, he's played 10 games, probably, like Mike says, in a row. Like, the intensity the Premier League is played at, and, you know, with the pandemic going on, it's going to be very hard to keep at that constant level. Davies doesn't have the pace that someone.
They train every day to keep at that level. You do realise this. They train every single day to play at that level.
But Ben Davies can
play 3 times a week, David.
As well, so I think he is a useful player. I'm not saying he's a good first 11 because regular much better.
And let's be honest, Davies has been playing 3 times a week, as well as training. So where's he? Where at some point?
This is the moment he lives for. This is the moment he's supposed to live for.
Who do you put? Who do you put these recent performances down to? Who do you put it down to? Why we've been performing so bad lately? That 3-0 loss to City, the 1-0 loss to Brighton. What do you put it down to then? Is it individual mistakes from Davies, Sanchez?
It's a collective thing because the mistakes have come from the individuals. There's only so much. I know he's had a lot of criticism in the last half a dozen games or whatever it might be, but Mourinho can only do so much. He can only give you the tools in order for you to perform on the pitch. Once you cross that white line, Mourinho can't play that game for you. It's down to that 11 to cross the line and perform as to how he's given you the tools to do that job. If you can't do that job once you cross the line, then and you've made a mistake. That's not down to Mourinho.
Yeah, but you've just been saying, hang on, you've just been saying that Ben Davies is a good enough backup then, and now you're saying basically that Jose, he's not put it down to these players for these individual mistakes, yet you're saying Davies is still a good enough backup.
Right,
every player in the Premier League at some point goes through bad form where they make mistakes. You look at Alisson. He's a prime example. World-class keeper. How many games has he cost Liverpool in the last, 3 or 4 games that they've played?
Yeah, but if you take over the context of how long he's been at Liverpool, he's played week in, week out. He's saved them more times than what he has committed mistakes, whereas Ben Davies has actually cost us more than what he's ever put in good performances for this club.
I wouldn't say any of the goals that we've conceded where the mistakes have come, apart from one, which was in the Europa early doors, has been Davies' fault.
What about their goal against Wolves? What about the equaliser against Wolves? That was 100% Ben Davies' fault.
What about the Brighton one when he clearly got run onto and basically let whoever was on the wing, I can't even remember his name, go straight past Davies and cross it right into the middle of the box?
But the mistakes have come generally.
If we can just crack on with Matt's second question. Go on, Matt.
Go on, Matt.
I'll go I'll go David first. Do you think it is Joe Lewis or Daniel Levy's fault the situation the club is in your opinion?
Yes, 100%. They have to take blame. Look, lads, I looked at the manager. When I look at the games, I don't see how it's the manager's fault. I say it's the players. When they keep making the same errors week in, week out, the players have to be held accountable. But then when I look at the players, right, and I look at the like, you know, where they were on the Poch to where they are now, like they were always only ever fringe players, you know, coming in once or twice underneath Pochettino compared to where they are now under Mourinho. And the fact is, like, I look at it. So why did they find themselves in this position? How have they found themselves into the starting lineup? Because it hasn't been because they played well. I look at the board. I look at the outgoings of transfers. I look at the incomings. It hasn't been good enough. How can you not put this down to Enic? At the end of the day, and Daniel Levy, at the end of the day, they have Paul Mitchell, right? The best scout in Europe. Real Madrid and all wanted him, right? He ended up at Leipzig. Look at the players they bring in. They all come in, and 9 times out of 10, majority of their players, they sell on for profit, right? Because they've identified the right player. Tottenham, we don't do that. We gamble.
Don't we?
Like, how can you not blame Enic and Lewis for this? Like, it's not their. Like, I look at the players. Yes, the players are to blame as well. But then, you know, how have they found themselves here? The board, they haven't just landed here. The board have brought them in.
Yeah, but on that, just to counter that, David, you're saying about the Tottenham players there. How many players have Tottenham brought in who we've sold on for a profit? I think the majority of the players that we've brought in have been sold for a profit. So what's the difference between that and what they do at Leipzig?
Well, you'd say that, but the majority of our players haven't. Like, you go back, look at the likes of Nkudu, Clinton NG, Michel Vorm. I can come up with loads of players for you. You know what I mean?
No, but
the only ones that we have really sold for a proper profit has been Kyle Walker, Gareth Bale, and Luka Modric.
Michael Carrick, he's another one.
Okay, Michael Carrick. Just as many as you give me, I can give you as many back.
Exactly.
Like,
it's
as many back that hasn't worked out, if not more.
Yeah. It's a 50-50 argument, that, I'd say.
Look, the recruitment of this club, though, let's be honest here, simply isn't good enough. And everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But you look at Liverpool, for example. Jurgen Klopp wants a player in the January transfer window. On deadline day, he wants 2 players. He's like, okay, guys, I want these 2 players. What do? They go out and get those 2 players. Jose Mourinho wanted a creative midfielder and a new centre-half in the January transfer window.
They're not world-class players he's brought in.
No. They didn't do that. And our scouts flew all the way to Milan midway through a deal to try and get Skriniar and bottled it midway through the deal where nothing has been confirmed and flies all the way to Milan. Just to
and lads, honestly, I don't know why people keep comparing us to Liverpool, because you can compare us to Liverpool all you want. The only difference between us and Liverpool is that they get it right and they win trophies. We don't. So that's the difference. Stop comparing us to Liverpool. We don't win trophies. We don't deserve to be compared to them.
But Liverpool sold Coutinho and Luis Suarez, so they had enough money to go and invest in the squad. I don't think it was necessarily that they just got the 150 to 200 million out of their pocket. They had to sell those players. They sold Coutinho for 120 million. They sold Luis Suarez. They got rid of the Deadwood, and then they invested wisely. So
I think Klopp spent 400 million. We haven't got that. Yeah. Where are we going to get that money from unless we buy and sell?
That's the issue. There's so many.
Yeah, you do. Like, the thing is, I get the buying and selling, but there also comes a point where, you know, in order for this club to grow, right? I get it. We have stadium repayments, but at the same time, why this is going on, right? The board are the one that wanted the stadium, but why this is going on, the board also have to help us on the pitch and invest. You do realise Enic or Joe Lewis has a net worth of nearly 4 billion. You know what I mean? Yeah. He could literally go us and buy us a world-class player tomorrow. So this idea that the money isn't there,
but then you've got financial.
It is there. At the end of the day, like, they built us the stadium, they put us in this situation, so they also have to help us out on the pitch with transfers. You know what I mean? They can't just take. They have to give and take.
I think they're going to
Matt.
Yeah, I do think it's going to be hard with COVID. Ongoing. I don't think that's going to help the financial situation. But that's my final point on that. But who are you blaming? Joe Lewis or Daniel Levy?
Matt?
Me? Yeah. I would. Sorry, ask your question again, Matt. Sorry.
Who would you blame out of Joe Lewis or Daniel Levy? Like, who's more at fault?
I wouldn't blame either of them. What's there to blame about? I don't get why we could.
They're in charge of recruitment.
They're in charge of recruitment, but they're not in charge of what happens actually on the pitch. That's down to the manager.
It comes down to the caliber of players you buy as well.
Yeah, but the manager and the manager, the head coach, the person that's in charge of. There's always a person that's normally head of recruitment. I know we might not have one at present, but normally we have done. They're in charge of the recruitment process. They'll go to the board and say, we want X, Y, Z. That's down to them to. I don't see how it's if the management are going to the board to say we need X, Y, and Z players, then that's down to them to make that noise up to the board. And yeah, if the board are then turning around and saying, well, actually, we're not going to buy him, but we'll buy him instead, then yeah, you've got a valid point. But if you're asking the question from who's at fault for the on-field success, then I blame more the managers and the players that are on the field more so than the board themselves.
Well, who employs the managers?
Well, that's the only thing I would, and I've said this before you came on. I actually said that the only thing I would criticise about Daniel Levy is his choice of management, in choice of manager. Apart from Martin Jol, Harry Redknapp, Pochettino, and Mourinho, prior to that, they've been very questionable, and I'm happy to say that all day long. But you can't tell me those 4 managers that we've had in the last few years haven't been good enough in terms of getting the trophies that we as Spurs fans are thriving and have that desire for.
They have, but at the same time, like, look, Mike, I think you'll agree with this as well. You're only as good as the tools you have to work with. Like, do you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, like, Mauricio Pochettino, yeah, he was a good enough manager, but every manager also needs adequate backing. And Mauricio Pochettino has told us this about in all his press conferences about, you know, getting the backing and needing better players. And like the thing is, like, we can't sit here and say that the stadium and the training ground is down to the board, and then not sit here and say that what's happening on the field is not down to the board. Because at the end of the day, everything that happens at this club is down to the board, because it starts with them first. They're the ones that make all the decisions at this club, and it trickles its way down. So everything that happens at this club has to go back up to the board.
Okay, let's try and get Josh involved.
Yeah, I agree to up to a certain point. I do agree. Yeah, I do agree with that.
Yeah, go on.
I'm going to go to Josh with the question because I think he's been waiting quite patiently.
Yeah, sorry, I had to quickly dash out. So look, Joe Lewis, or what was the question? Who is it, Joe Lewis or?
In your opinion, is it Joe Lewis's or Daniel Levy's fault the situation we're sort of in as a club at the moment?
So look, Joe Lewis owns Tavistock Group. Tavistock Group owns Enic, and Daniel Levy is an employee of Enic as well as a shareholder of Enic.
Yeah.
So his job is to grow Enic before he grows Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah.
You know, and when he has his annual meeting with Joe Lewis, you know, his presentation is going to be like, I've taken our revenues up, I've taken our profit up.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. So from that point of view, Joe Lewis and Daniel Levy's done a good job, but outside of that and talking about sport and football, he's taken Tottenham from, like I say, 10th to 5th in average positions over the last 20 years. He's grown the revenue at record levels. He's grown the profit at record levels. He's done it all without spending lots of money. So we've never spent money. So this whole debate on spending money, if you're looking at Man City and Man United, makes sense. But when you look at Tottenham's success over the last 20 years, it's not been based on spending money. It's been based on the same transfer policy every year.
Yeah.
So Levy will argue that my success from 10th to 5th, my policies to get us from 10th to 5th are successful because I've never spent money. So anyone who says to him, spend money, he's going to say, well, I never have, but I've still got the success. So we could say, well, you've got it on the cheap with luck, with Pochettino, with Redknapp, with Yol. Well, they were all successful recruitments. Just like when you recruit a player, recruit a manager, you look at everything the manager can do. But then you look at Juande Ramos and you look at AVB and you look at other managers where he's failed. But isn't that the business of football? You cannot win in every game. You lose games every season. And just like that, you lose transfers and you lose managers. But on the whole, you have to blame Levy because he's in charge of the club and it's up to him to convince Joe Lewis to sanction more money for Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, whether it's through Enic or Tavistock. But on the whole, guys, I hate to say it, and I have no links to Daniel Levy, but if you look at his commercial success and you look at where he's taken the club and how he's done it without spending hundreds of millions, he will argue his transfer policy works because it's got us to the Champions League final, albeit we didn't win it because of a silly mistake by Sissoko and some poor defending. But we nearly won the Premier League.
Harry Kane's backup years before or over the years when we've had the chance. There is an argument. We would have won it.
There is an argument that the more you spend, the more you get back. If you look at your Man Cities and De Bruyne, Dias, Mahrez, Cancelo, Laporte, Raheem Sterling, Rodri, they're all players that start today. Yeah, most of them. So and that's the football they play. But they play that football because also they're paying the wages for Pep for the last 6-7 years or whatever it's coming to now. We've gone through so many managers. We can't attract these managers because we're not always in the Champions League. So do you just throw 200 million at the club, close your eyes and pray and hope that we finish in the top 4? Or do you keep doing this Levy way where you grind out manager after manager, season after season, player after player? And on the whole, he's kind of delivered in the last 5, 6, 7 years when Redknapp took us to the Champions League.
Can I just answer that question, Josh?
Well, look, I don't think it's as clear as it's Levy's fault. It's Joe Lewis's fault. It's Levy's done a fairly good job. Right, he's not done a bad job. I don't think he's done a bad job. He's done a fairly good job. But moving forward, if we want to be competing with City and every other top spending club, then Levy's not going to be our man. So moving forward, it probably won't be the job that most people want. But up to now, he's done a good job. Not amazing. He's done a good job.
Just on what you were saying there, Josh. Look, I think it's actually come to a point, like, you know, where us fans, like, the thing is, we've bought into their process for nearly 20 years now. 20 years, right? We've bought into it for so long. But over the last, you'd argue, what, 6, 7 years maybe, you know, we've kind of been on the board of breaking to that elite and kind of, like, you know, staying where the likes of other clubs are, like Arsenal and stuff like that. And the only way you are going to break into the elite is by spending. You know, it's proven all over the world of football. The more you spend, the better you become. You know, the more quality you get. But, like, the thing is, we've been trusting this process for 20 odd years. Now, over the last 7 years, we've been in touching distance of some of the biggest trophies. And just spending in, like, you know, say bringing in a player or two in the January transfer just to help teams, just to bring that little bit of extra quality. Like I said, you know, Harry Kane was injured for the Champions League final, but over the years, we've had the money, we've had the time. If we would have found someone adequate to come in and play, and we would have probably been playing them in the final, and who knows? We could have went on and won it, because we can all agree that Harry Kane not playing fully fit hampered us that night.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, it's come to a point where, you know, fans are kind of getting fed up with this thing now, and they want the success. And I think this is where this whole Enic thing is brewing out. And I just want to say I've actually had a really fun time. And I want to say, big up Mike. I absolutely love his passion for defending the club. I absolutely love it. It's brilliant. You know what I mean? And I wish I could be more like that. But at the same time, I was like that. But at the same time, I've come to a point now where I'm going to, as much as I don't want to talk ill of the club, I really don't. But there comes a point where you can't really hide behind your issues anymore. But at the end of the day, you know, whether we all agree here or not, at the end of the day, what the most important thing is, we all want what's best for this club, and that is the most important thing.
Exactly.
And I think I actually think having these fiery debates is good. I think it's really good. Like, at the end of the day, I'm not going to leave here just because I just disagree with Josh and Mike. I'm not going to leave here hating them, bad about them. You know what I mean? I love them because what they're showing is absolute passion towards this club. And whether you're on one side, no matter what side of the fence you're on, it's what we want to see. You know what I mean? And I big up the two boys for standing by their points just as much as I stand by mine and showing the same passion. It's brilliant. And these fiery debates help because you have passion from both sides. And then what this is about is, you know, educating people or trying to help educate people and let them form their opinion off what they hear. So big up, everybody.
Yeah, nice one, David. Lily White, did you want to answer Matt's question, pal?
Yeah, what was that again? Sorry.
Do you, in your opinion, do you blame Daniel Levy or Joe Lewis for the situation the club finds themselves in at the moment?
I think both are at fault, if I'm being 100% honest, but more so Joe Lewis and Enic for me. Because you look at Daniel Levy and you look at him as the owner of the club, and you look at him as he's the one who has to negotiate. And sometimes he's pulled off, and I have to be honest here as well, he's pulled off some really, really good negotiations. But a lot of the time he's let us down so many times when we were after a big player. And let's be honest here. Sometimes we have had a little bit of that money, but we're after a big player, and Daniel Levy keeps on negotiating the price down and down and down, and costs us. But more so for me, it's for Enic and Jolis, as they haven't invested in this club as much as I want them to. Like, let's be honest here as well. Just like David said there, you know, it's like it's brilliant to come on here and actually have a debate and stuff. I really enjoy it, and it's real good fun. So Mike and Josh, you know, fair play to you for having your opinion, but. But for me, I look at it from a standpoint as you have to give them criticism where it's due, and I think it's due to give them criticism this board for actually not investing in this club, not investing in the playing thing. This debate
breaking up,
breaking
up a little bit, mate.
Saying that this board has come to cost us.
Yeah, I think you're broken up there, Lily White. Yeah, so guys. Are you still there, Lily White?
Yeah.
Yes, about that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're going in and out, Lily White.
In and out.
You're breaking up. You're going in and out of signal.
Sorry about that, mate. Can you hear me all right now? Or...
No, you're still breaking up.
Simon,
I can hear you fine there.
I'm going to have to dip out, lads. Yeah, mate, I've got to dip out. It's been a pleasure.
Mike, it's been great to have you on,
mate. It's been a pleasure,
mate.
I've enjoyed it today.
Pleasure.
Good debate. I love a heated debate, lads.
It's what it's about. At the end of the day, it just shows how passionate we are for the club, Mike, doesn't it?
It does, 100%. And I mean, before I sign off, sort of thing. If you look at how everything's sort of teeing up, we haven't sold the stadium rights yet, but they're looking at doing that very soon. There's a HSBC deal that's still going through. If you think about it, Joe Lewis is 83, 84. I think Levy is sort of selling us and making us an attractive proposition to sell us as a football club. In the next, I mean, he's 84 years of age. He's not got exactly a lot long left in him. I say that in loose terms. I don't want to obviously cause any offence, but he hasn't got. He's not a young chairman. Let's put it that way. He's not like
we get what you mean.
I have to be careful what I say here, but I think Levy and Lewis have this in the back of their mind that they want to set us up to be an attractive sale for a potential buyer. And whether we do get that, you can only hope that we don't lose our identity as a club, because it's all very well having the millions and the billions in the bank and buying, like you say, the world-class squads, etc. But me personally, I wouldn't want to lose our identity as a club to swap that for.
Just before you go, mate, may I ask you a question? Look, do you know? So I agree with you. I agree with you about Lewis not getting any younger, and I do think it is in view to sell. 100% agree with you on that. My question is for you is so when we do sell it, who would you like to bring in? Because we all know it goes 50-50 with owners. You get an owner that'll come in and back you and push you onto that next level. I think it's very important that we sell it to an owner like that, or do you sell it to an owner that kind of wants to continue on the same way? What would you do?
That's the $1 million question. Would I? It's basically asking if you'd sell your soul in some ways. And would I sell my soul if it meant getting the silverware, the trophies? It's hard to say. If it meant
you seen the Champions League and the Premier League,
what would I do? I honestly don't know, David. I want to say that I would probably go with that first option you said and buy someone. I tell you what I would want. I want someone to come in that's a Tottenham supporter. Someone that's a Tottenham supporter who has a balanced view on finances compared to having a balanced view on on-field success. If you can find a balance between the two, then I'm all for that. And if that means whether we get sort of investment from sort of the buys, etc., then as long as they're a Tottenham fan, and I suppose I might not worry too much or be too concerned. But it needs to be balanced. I think it needs to be balanced. And you can easily argue, as we have, that hasn't been the case with Enic. I mean, I think they've nailed it off the field, but like you say, on the field, it is heavily debatable, and we could be here all day debating about our on-field success under Enic, which, yeah, it's not to our satisfaction. Obviously, we want to be winning the Premier Leagues, your Champions Leagues. Of course, we do. Why do we support a football club if you don't want that? It doesn't make sense, does it? So,
one more thing that popped into my head before you go, Mikey, as well is, look, personally, I actually think that up until we got rid of Harry Redknapp, I think they did strike a balance between investment and buying all the property up around White Hart Lane and stuff like that. I think they did strike a balance, but somewhere after that, I think it's been lost.
Yeah,
and that's just my opinion. I don't know whether you agree.
It's a valid opinion. It is a valid opinion, and you, what you've said tonight, David. It's not that I think your opinion's wrong or anything like that. You've got, as I say, all the opinions are very valid and debatable easily, and there's no right or wrong answer as such. And I suppose in some respects, I would probably agree with what you've just said there. In the last couple of seasons, it has been very questionable. I mean, some of the purchases we've made under Pochettino, and maybe towards the latter stages of Harry Redknapp, whereby we've brought in the players that have, or what we believe have the potential to be great defenders or great midfielders or great strikers. Some of those players haven't turned out to be that way. Like Davinson Sanchez, probably for me is the biggest disappointment. When he first came in, I thought he had the pace, he had the power. Yeah. I thought, this guy's could be the next Ledley King, for example. But arguably, things haven't turned out that way, and now we're seeing too many mistakes at the level that we are at and what we're competing at for it to be able to continue. So it's easily arguable that he isn't good enough, and I would probably tend to agree with that. He isn't good enough. He does have the odd occasion where he plays well, but the mistakes cost us goals. And like you look at the Man City game, the third goal, it's probably best I don't go into that, but we all know what I'm probably thinking. So there is players in that squad that need to move on, that aren't good enough, not decent enough to come off the bench and sort of do a job when we have got injuries. But again, under Pochettino, I don't think he had the strength in depth that Mourinho has at current sort of situation in time. But again, you can debate. Again, it's debatable with what I'm saying there. So I think Mourinho, and for anyone that's a Mourinho out fan, again, I question that. We wanted a manager that has won it all. Mourinho has that. His CV speaks for itself. I do think he is the manager that can get us out of this sticky situation. I just think he needs, I say, a little bit of time, but he needs to win that Euro. Well, he needs to win the League Cup first of all. That'll give him some breathing space, and then hopefully he can. Essentially, all we need to do is get rid of that back line and rebuild the back line, get the strength and depth in the back line, and then the rest of the team going forward. You can argue on paper, maybe the odd signing here and there from a creativity perspective. All of a sudden, I think we'd have a great squad, but he needs to sort that back line out.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think that's good. Yeah.
I mean, Lloris, if PSG want to come in for Lloris at the end of the season, do you know what I would do? I'd take the money and run, and I'd go invest it in someone like Nick Pope or Sam Johnston. Get a younger keeper in, and then the same with the back line. You could go from right back to left back. I'd keep Toby just for his experience. Joe Rodon, I think he's going to be massive for us. Not this season, but the following season. As long as he carries on developing and doesn't pick up any injuries, I think he's going to be a great defender. Same as Taganga. I think he's got the potential to be a great player. But like you said, David, there does need to be further investment. And I think it's obvious. Mourinho must know it himself. That back line needs to be sorted out.
Right, guys.
I'll let you guys crack on. It's been great.
Right, Mike.
hopefully I'll see you again all soon.
Good day, mate.
Big up, mate.
Right, thank you very much. Cheers, pal. So, guys, before we wrap this up, guys, that's it. Brings down to this last question: is Jose Mourinho now? Is he the right manager to take us forward for the long term of this club? David, go on, mate.
Look, in terms of long term for the club, I don't know. You know, I've always had the sneaky feeling that he might last longer at Tottenham than what he has done at other clubs. I've always had that feeling. Look, in terms of where we are now and the investment we need, I think he's the right man if you listen to him to let him spend the money and bring in the caliber of players we need. Long term, as in building a project, I don't think so. But right now, I honestly would trust what players he thinks he needs. Back him for another year, see where you are after that. I do think it'll make a major improvement. And I think, honestly, like, you know, if we do back him, give him the players he needs, Simon, I do think we can go on and push on for a league title. I think we shore up that defence by one or two players, creativity-wise. I do think we can go on and win things. And then when we win things, I think you're going to keep holding Mourinho for a bit longer. Obviously, like, you know, you're going to find it very hard to sack him. But honestly, right now, he's the man that we need. I do think he is the man we need. He's the man we need in charge of, you know, of a list of players to go and get. Because let's be fair to the guy. No matter who he's signed, no matter where he's been, he's got it right like 9 times out of 10. To be fair to him, he has bought some quality players. Like, you know, he's even bought players that nobody's ever heard of, and they turned out to be quality. So I do think right now is the perfect time for Jose to be here, but only if we're going to back him. If we have no plans of backing him in the summer, then we need to find another solution, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Nice one, David. Thanks for that opinion, pal. Josh, same question, mate.
I think with his record, you have to give him time. Unfortunately, whether you're a fan or not, whether you don't like the identity of his football, whether you don't like the style of his football, whether, you know, we're not getting the results on the pitch. I think this question needs to be asked in about 10 games or towards the end of the season. We'll have a clearer picture on it. At the moment, look, you know, we're in this final. You know, just let Jose do what he's got to do, and maybe we have to give him a transfer window, because he wouldn't be changing that back line if he didn't think it was great. So that means he wants money. That means he wants to change it. That means he sees the areas where there's errors. So that's one side of the conversation. The other side is, can he actually coach these players to be better than with the current pack he's got? Because that's the other side of his job. It's not just transfers and filling holes and strategy. It's actual hands-on coaching. So the jury's out for me on how can he make these players perform better than they are? How can he eliminate the errors and the silly mistakes? And I know that's not all his fault, because, you know, we can't blame him for Sanchez losing his balance. But I want to ask that question in 10 games, because at the moment, it couldn't be more 50-50 in terms of Jose in, Jose out. It's just right down the middle. And that's rightly so, because that's how 50-50 his performances have been. He started the season, took us to the top, and now look at us. It's just 50-50. If you look at everything that Jose's done, has been one good, one bad. And it is literally an even split. So at the moment, my answer to your question is not yes or no. The answer is I don't know. And I'm sorry to have to give you that answer, but sometimes you just don't know. You know, sometimes you can't say yes or no because it's just too split. And that's where we are with Jose. There's things I like about him. There's things I don't like about him. But at the moment, I just want to see over the next, however many games got, you know, we've got a final, we've got a few more games, we're in another cup competition. Jose will have that answer from the players and the fans, depending on how we finish the rest of the season. And the one time you should lose the manager, or the manager will go, unfortunately, is when he's lost the trust of the senior players. And until he hasn't lost the trust of the senior players and he's got them on board and the leaders in the dressing room on board, then the man deserves more time. But when he loses the trust of the senior players, you kind of get to a situation where it's a full wipeout, or it's the manager goes. At the moment, he's still got the trust of the senior players, I believe. So you let him carry on doing what he's doing.
That's brilliant opinion there, Josh. Thank you very much for your opinion. Lily White Lane, same question to you, mate.
Look, Jose, for me, he's the manager. You know, I find it hypocritical how some people want him sacked when we've brought in the most successful manager that's ever come to the club. You know, I love Jose Mourinho, really, really want him to succeed here. But just like you said, Josh, we won't know until the summer. As much as I really want him to succeed, I think there's a lot of issues at this club, whether it be the players. But for me, if we don't back him this summer, then I don't see the point in it, because you need to back this manager with the players that he wants. This board needs to actually invest within the manager and the players he wants. But as I say, I just think you got to give him time. You got to give him time to try and build a squad. And in 2 years' time, in 1.5 or 2 years' time, if Jose's still not doing it and he's been backed, and only if he's been backed with the players he wants, that's when I'll actually start saying, maybe he has to go. But right now, I'm fully Jose, and people are talking like the season's over. It's really not over. We're going to absolutely smash West Ham on the weekend. We've got some easier fixtures coming up. I mean, no fixtures are easy, but let's be honest, we've got some winnable fixtures in Burnley at home, Palace, and we're going to go on and really, really, make a push for that top 4 this season, because we're only 6 points off this season. So really hoping we can make a push, go for top 4 this season, and from there, win the Carabao Cup, win the Europa League. I'm Mr. Optimistic again. We're going to win some stuff this season.
Come on, Lily White.
Come on, you Spurs.
Brilliant there, Lily White. Yeah, positivity from Lily White there. Matt, last one, mate. Go on.
Yeah, no, I think I've sort of been umming over like yes and no, like last few weeks, obviously with performances, and we come on here straight after a game, and you're quite angry, and sometimes you just don't mean to say it, but it just kind of comes out. From what I've seen, I'm going to back the man. He's won trophies. I think he's trying to play a good style of football. I think he wants to play, especially with Sacramento as his coach. They want to play quite a high pressing football and play sort of like Poch did, a bit expansively, but they just need that solid back 4. I think once they get that, I think you'll see a Tottenham that will attack and turn over teams quite easily, and he'll be tactically good for games, when our squad's a lot better, with Man City, United's away, and things like that. Just stick with the club. I still think we'll win 2 trophies. I think we'll win the Europa League. I think we'll win the League Cup final. And I think we can go. We can beat West Ham. I don't think we're going to thrash them. I think it'll be quite a tight game. It's a London derby.
We're going to thrash them.
I'll say 2-1. I think I'll go 2-1. I think we'll nick it. I don't know. I've got a feeling Bale's going to pop up with a winner. That's just in my head. Just get behind the boys. Get behind Jose. Let's just power on through to the end of the season, and then get to that summer and see what happens. But keep the faith and come on, you Spurs.
Yeah. Come on. So guys, before we end the stream, guys, there's just one question. If it wasn't for this pandemic, if we didn't have this at the minute, would have the board gave the money to Jose Mourinho for these players he actually wanted, and have you think this has really affected plans? The players that Jose wanted, David?
Personally, no. Looking back over the track record, if you look down what's on paper, I don't think they would have backed Jose, to be honest with you, regardless. I think Jose was brought in as a cover-up. At the end of the day, if they would have sacked Poch and brought us in, Eddie Howe, we would have went absolutely ballistic. So the only option they had to do was getting a world-class manager, and hopefully that he could get better out of these players and cover up the true issues at the club. In a way, Jose done that, but it's also been exposed as well. It's also exposed a lot more to our fans. It's opened their eyes up to a lot more things as well. That's my opinion. Just on what Matt was saying as well. You look, no matter what side of the camp you're in, whether you're Enic in, Enic out, Jose in, Jose out, you're Tottenham Hotspur. Back to boys. Always back to boys. Never lose sight of, in or out or this or that. The main thing is you back the team, no matter what. Always keep your eyes on the prize.
Brilliant there, David. Thanks for your answer, mate. Josh, same to you, mate.
Question about COVID.
Yeah, if we did have COVID around now, and the summer's just gone, do you really think that, the board would have gave serious money to Jose to fix this defence, at least what he wanted, or do you think
you could argue like the revenues lost from March till December might have counted towards January transfer window signing, because there's definitely lost revenue there, whether we like it or not. I mean, you just total up the match day income, all the concerts that were planned, Guns N' Roses and all that good stuff. You think about all the merchandising sales from the club shops. you think about the corporate revenue that comes in, where companies are, spending a lot, believe it or not, they do. That's a lot of where our match day income comes from, corporate revenues. That stadium's built for success. That stadium's built for, it's a bank. That's a bank waiting to just release itself. That's how much money that can come into that stadium, not only on football expenditure, but on non-football as well. So you'd like to think that more money there would have been available for the January transfer window. We knew in January that we needed to sign a couple of players, and we know we need to sign a couple of players now, whether Levy likes it or not. So I think it probably would have had some impact. We're not really a club that spends in January, and January is the worst time to buy a player because you're buying them mid-season, and clubs don't want to sell their best players. You pay over the odds, and we know Mourinho, Levy don't pay over the odds. So it probably wouldn't have made a difference in terms of a major signing, but we might have signed up a couple of players just to reinforce the squad. But I will say that, Jose's walked into this club knowing exactly what he was walking into. There's no secret about Levy. Levy's been Levy for the last 20 years. And everyone knows Levy's strategy for the last 10, 15 years. If Pochettino's not shouting about it, it was Redknapp. If it wasn't Redknapp, it was Yo. Yo got sacked at half time. So Mourinho knew, right? Mourinho knew what he was coming into. And I think Mourinho respects the man because he's taken on a challenge. He's not done a Pep Guardiola and gone to just Bayern Munich and where the money's at. He's come to Tottenham to prove he can do it in different circumstances. And just for that reason only, I give him a lot of respect and credit. You know what? It's a transition that he's going through. It's his first full season. There's certain players that have let him down, like Dele Alli, as far as he's concerned. Doherty hasn't. There's things that have gone against Jose Mourinho as well. So look, man, I think once that stadium's full, this time next year we should be having a different conversation, hopefully, because we would have plugged a few more holes. And I think that the future looks bright. I mean, we've got the most decorated manager in recent times, aside Pep, managing our football club. How many times have you been able to say that as a Tottenham Hotspur fan?
Yeah.
But then why do you get him in and not back him? You know what I mean? When his track record shows at every club.
But you know what it is, David?
At every club, you back him and he brings you the top trophy.
What doesn't work with him? Unfortunately, he's not a great, charming man with the press anymore. I mean, he's got it back a little bit. But you see,
we're not paying him to be charming to the press. We're paying him to be a manager and win us things.
No, of course. But what I'm saying is because the media brainwashes a lot of fans as well, because that's what they look at on their phones and when they open the paper. And because he's had this battle with the media, he's had these problems with that lady, with the Chelsea situation, whether he was being sexist or whatever he was being, right? And you know what? He's Marmite, isn't he? He's very stubborn. He's one way. Like it or not like it, my way or the highway. That's Jose Mourinho. If you're in, you're fully in. If you're not even a little bit in, you're fully out. And that's what it is. Everyone's got to buy into his philosophy, whether it's Dele Alli, whether it's fans. The whole club has to literally say, Jose, we believe in you as a whole. Not some of us are in, some of us are out. That's not going to work with Jose Mourinho. Like at Chelsea, he had everyone on board, right? Even at Madrid, the success he had. But the thing with Mourinho is, because he's Marmite, he's not going to kiss your ass. You got to earn his respect, and you got to completely give your head and shoulders for him. Otherwise, you're not in his plans, and that's the problem. There's always going to be at every club Jose Mourinho goes at. There's always going to be 2 or 3 players that are going to be sidelined, and Levy has to make the decision to sell Ali or not sell Ali, and follow Jose's lead. We can't just be Jose in. We've got to be Jose all in for this to work, guys. And the camp split right now. And I feel that if the fans are back in the stadium, which hopefully there will be, the fans will soon let Jose know what they feel about his tactics. I mean, if you think of Chelsea at home, at half-time, them players would have got booed in, guys. I've been at White Hart Lane. I've been part of the booing myself when I've seen a shit performance, because I expect more. And would Jose have lasted till this side of the season if the fans were in the stadium? There's a good question there as well. Would the fans have booed him off the pitch? So maybe not having fans has allowed Jose to do it his way, and his way is quite unique. But whether you like it or not, he's a winner, and we've got to trust in Jose, because unfortunately right now we're at a point where if we don't start winning and finishing top 4, then we're going to start losing our best players. And that's the next thing that's waiting for us if we don't start winning. So I'm saying, look, the fans get behind him. When you get back in the stadiums, if you're lucky enough to watch a Spurs live, don't boo. Just have patience. back the man, back the players, cheer the players on. If their heads are down, try and be positive, don't be negative. And maybe we might just be onto something special here. So let's wait and see.
In fact, stay after 90 minutes and boo Enic, so they know it's for them.
Join David Harris.
Lily White Lane.
Look, people have always said to me, the grass is green or the grass isn't green. I go by the grass is as green as you want to make it. And for me, when it comes to Jose, he's a manager, he's won everywhere and he's done it all. And you have to give him time. You have to appreciate what he's doing with the club and you have to give him time. And for me, I said it before, I'll say it again, you have to back him with the players he wants in a team he wants. For me, Jose Mourinho, he's one of the most successful managers that's ever come to the club. Well, not one of the most successful managers that's ever come to the club. And I think, to have him at Tottenham Hotspur is brilliant. And if he can bring us trophies, for me, he can leave for all I care. If he brings us the Europa League and the Carabao Cup and the league next season, he can leave because he's come here and he's done his job, okay? I look at it from a standpoint as Jose Mourinho is here to bring trophies. If he can bring trophies to the club, that's fantastic. Keep us as long as you want because, I'm willing to sacrifice my enjoyment out of football for watching defensive football if I have to actually watch us lift a trophy. So for me, I look at it from a standpoint as, for me, Jose out it's a load of rubbish if you ask me. It's just silly. So I think Jose needs to stay as manager. You can't sack him. And this whole club needs to get behind this team and manager as much as we can criticise him. I mean, this whole debate's titled Enic in or Enic out or all about Enic. Enic are our owners. They're not going anywhere, as frustrating as it is. So I just look at it from a standpoint as we need to back this team. We need to back this manager. And we need to show some passion. As soon as we get back in those stadiums, don't boo him. Don't boo Jose Mourinho. Clap him and give him all the attention you possibly can and cheer on this team until he gives you a reason not to. Until he gives you a reason to basically say, okay, this isn't a board, this is Jose Mourinho. He's been back with the players he wants. Now, he needs to go. Until he gives you that reason, then clap him and continue backing him. And we need to actually, and I feel like it's getting to a point now where for the first time in a long time, this board is actually taking a lot more criticism and they're trying to shut us down with these news outlets. I'm not going to believe that or listen to that anymore. And it's about time we criticise this board and hopefully this criticism will make them go out there and invest in Jose Mourinho. And trust me, if Jose Mourinho gets the investment he needs at the likes of Inter Milan, he got that investment. He won Champions Leagues, Real Madrid, all these big clubs he went to. He took Porto, a small club in Portugal, who basically backed him with a couple of players that he wants top of his list, and he went and won the Champions League. So we need to back this manager. We need to get behind this team. We need to get behind this club, the club that we all love, and we need to get behind this club this season where we're going to go out there and we're going to win that Carabao Cup and Europa League.
Just in terms quickly of you saying about Enic aren't going anywhere. At the end of the day, like whether they're going anywhere or not, what we can still do is talk about things. When you talk about things, you get change, and when you get change, or when you discuss change, you usually get action. Like let's never stop talking about this because at the end of the day, if we keep talking about it, someone's going to have to listen eventually, and they're going to have to work with the fans, and they're going to have to start appeasing the fans as well at some point. Do you know what I mean? And striking that balance rather than just shutting us out and saying this is the way it is. At the end of the day, we can never lose the sight that fans will always have power in this game. We will always have power in this club. And if you talk about it, eventually the owners will end up listening because honestly, they don't want to listen to fans. It affects their pockets. And when it affects their pockets, they'll be begging to speak with us fans. Honestly.
Right, brilliant there, David. Matt, go on, mate. You can have the final say on Jose.
Yeah, I do think there will be a plan in the summer. I'm not sure how much, we're going to spend. None of us will until we get to the window. But they must be having meetings and trying to, I'm sure Jose will be speaking to Sacramento and he'll be speaking to Steve Hitchin, and I'm sure they'll be having lots of probably different meetings over the last few weeks about what is the future. If we don't get top four, what player they think they're going to have to maybe sell to try and refund the squad. But I think, like you say, history says if you back him, he wins you big stuff. So, I do believe he wants more than just Europa League and a Carabao. I think he wants to win the league with Tottenham. You saw him came out a couple of weeks ago and say it's what he wants, and I think. If he wins a league with us, then he's got to be the greatest manager ever. I mean, he probably is anyway. But to go to a club like Tottenham, change the mentality and make you win a league title, would be phenomenal. But I do have to say, you know, spending money isn't everything. You look at Leicester; I think they do recruit really well. They have a really good scouting team. You know, you look at players like Tielemans, who we were linked with before. You know, wish we sort of got someone like that. Again, you could blame Levy. It could be a number of things.
But they've had to spend to get a lot of the players they've had there at the minute. So spending does work.
Yeah, but if you look, most of the time they don't like overspend. Do you know
no,
what I mean?
That was when they won the league. But recently, like they've kicked on. They've gone when I saw Justin, Castagna, Pereira, Fofana. You know what I mean? Wilfred Ndidi, Tielemans. These are all 20, 30 plus £1 million players.
Yeah. But you look at Fofana, Fofana's going to be for the future for them. I mean, he looks a quality player now. But
but like, you know, they went and got Fofana, we went and got Roden. There's a difference, you know.
Yeah.
Guys, can I say something on Jose? So when he went to United, he spent 300 million quid in his term, and his remit was to win the Premier League and get Man United to dominate English football again. It was not to win, you know, the Europa League. In all fairness, sorry, you know, to break it to everyone, but United fans will tell you it wasn't to win the Europa League. It was to finish top of the league and to win the Champions League. That was
but United fans would also throw around here right now and absolutely bite your arm off to go and win an FA Cup, finish second in the league,
and
in the Europa League.
We're hanging.
What have they won since Jose left?
The thing is, guys, because we're so desperate for a trophy, we're hanging on to his failures at United. In all fairness, 300 million quid is what he was given, and then obviously they finished 6th. When he left Chelsea in his second term, they finished 16th. Right, and he didn't go to Chelsea to finish 16th. He went to Chelsea to dominate English football.
But Josh, when you look at his United job, you also have to look at the squad. You also have to look at the squad he walked in and inherited. There was 3 other managers' stamps on that. United was an absolute mess. Like, let's not sit here and pretend they weren't.
What
United
I'm saying,
were an absolute mess when he walked in. And to take them to a Europa League and FA Cup and finish second in the league, which United have done none of since. Yeah. Honestly, and then, here it's a failure. When you look at the price of the club and walk into, I think it's very harsh.
After that, I know that wasn't his remit to win those cups, and he didn't win them. But after that, he finished 6th, and something goes wrong with Jose in that he has a peak and then he drops. You saw at Chelsea, he had a peak, went back, finished 16th. Roman had to sack him. 16th is too low. I'm sure Levy would do the same.
He won the league.
Yeah, so the second time wasn't as great as everyone expected. His Man United period wasn't as great as everyone expected.
Look,
let's just hope what we expect is good. Let's just hope what we expect from him. All this, we're giving him a pump. Let's just fingers crossed. I'm his biggest fan if he can deliver.
But Josh, you're saying about the United thing. So at the end of the day, what I'd say to you is the situation that United are in. He done an amazing job. How many United fans were killed for that now? And even at United's worst time when he walked in, he still won them more trophies than what we ever won, and we were going through our best time.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, in terms of trophies, he's done well, but I don't think that was his remit. Guys. I think he was brought in to dominate.
His remit was to get them back into the Champions League at the time. He done that by winning UEFA Cup. How did he fail his remit?
His remit must have been, we found our man, right? We've got rid of flipping the geezer. What's his name? Van Gaal. You know.
He also had David Moyes manager before that. There was a load of other managers that turned United into an absolute mess.
To basically be the next best thing to Alex Ferguson. That was the remit with Jose. I'm sure it must have been. Surely United didn't bring him in to just, no disrespect to the FA Cup. And you know, United are supposed to be a global, you know, with the money, with the financial might. They spent 300, and I think someone put it up now, 326 mil. I just hope he doesn't waste 300 million quid of Tottenham's money. But if he wins us trophies and keeps us in the top 4, we're all going to be happy.
Josh, the 300 million he spent, you have to understand, like it was spent over a number of seasons. When he first walked in, I think he spent 100 and nearly 200 million. Now that was just to get the squad he wanted, and you could argue that was spent well, because what he done is turned United around, completely turned United around. You know what I mean? Like, we're not talking he took over Sir Alex Ferguson's United when they were winning everything. No, United weren't even getting European football. You know what I mean? So at the time when he walked in, compared to the way he left the club, honestly, you have to, like, you can sit here and say it's United there, you know, global dominations, but you have to take it at the period that they were in at the time. Do you know what I mean? And they've won fuck all since. Yeah, so, in fairness, I think you're being very harsh. And I think what you're saying is wrong, to be honest.
No, I'm saying that I don't think in the owner's eyes he's done a successful job for United. I mean, he's done an okay job, but the remit wasn't that. The remit was to get United for the next 5 years. They gave him a contract to get United back to number one, not just a one-off good season with 2 trophies and a second finish, but to actually.
The remit at the time was to get United back to Europe. That was first and foremost, and it's exactly what he done.
I thought when Jose went to United, I thought we're all in trouble, but it turned out not to be. Look, I'm not slack. I'm not hating on him. I'm just saying there's areas where he's failed. There's areas being successful, but he's not God. Okay, he's a human being. He has failed. Let's not forget that.
But people want to pick out his 2 failures out of his 20-year successful career.
Yeah, but those 2
you want to pick out a year or 1 or 2 failures out of his whole career. You know what I mean? But the thing is, Josh, what annoys me is you also, like, I've heard you say things about Poch. I've never heard you pick out Poch's failures. Like, the only reason why you're kind of picking out, I think Mourinho's, like, what? 2 failures out of a 20-year career. Like, this is a manager that stopped Sir Alex Ferguson, the greatest manager of all time, his handle on a Premier League. This is a manager that walked in and stopped Pep Guardiola's reign on Spanish football and European football. This is a manager that walked in and brought an Inter Milan squad that was finished back to the top of European glory at the time. Wow. This is a manager that bought Porto, who, may I add, when he actually took over, were nowhere near the best team in Portugal, right?
Yeah.
And he brought them onto European dominance and all. So to pick out like 1 or 2 failures where it went sour, personally, I don't think it's right. I think it's wrong.
There'll come a point.
And like, if you're going to have that same energy for that, I want you to sit here and talk about Poch's failures, because all you do is big Poch up, but you don't want to talk about his failures as well.
I think Poch done a wonderful job for the resources he had. I think Jose Mourinho's also done a wonderful job with the resources, with the spend at Real, with the spend at Chelsea, and the spend at United. He's not going to get that spend at Tottenham. Nowhere near it. We all know it, no matter how much we talk about it. Hopefully it changes, but it won't in the short term. He's now got to do it with lesser tools, lesser money. This is a new challenge. It's slightly different to United and Chelsea and Madrid. And that's why the jury's out on him, because it's the first time he's gone to a club where he's walked into a unique environment. It's not Porto, because now everyone knows about Jose Mourinho. He's walked into an environment which, let's be honest, guys, it's a little bit unfamiliar to what he's used to, right? Because he hasn't got the money. And we keep talking about money, but he's just not got it. Whether Levy has it or not, it's not whether Levy has it, it's whether Levy wants to spend it. And he just doesn't have it.
Like, the money's there, Josh. That's the thing. Like, you know, you sit here and deny the money's not there all day. At the end of the day, Enic are worth $4 billion. All it takes is for them to go and sell a yacht and invest in the playing squad, which is blatantly what we need at the time. And the reason why they have to do it is because they're the ones that put this club in the situation. Us fans never asked for the stadium. We would much happily be at the Lane right now, winning week in, week out. Okay. And you know what I mean? Investing the money we spent building into the stadium, on the playing squad, lifting the Premier League, lifting trophies, right? And when you start getting that revenue in, that's the time to make the move for the stadium, because you have a lot more revenue coming in. What they've done is put us in this position, so it's up to them to help us get out of it. It's that simple.
Guys,
this whole thing about pretending the money's not there is an absolute joke. Look at the net worth, right? So during the pandemic, when they went to put staff on furlough, that was based on a business point of view, correct?
Yeah, it must have been. Yeah, you can't do it otherwise.
So it was based on a business point of view. But when people said, well, hang on here now, like, you know, football clubs make billions every year. This is not right. They should cover their staff through this pandemic based on money, what they've earned over the years. All the big Premier League money they've earned, right? So then people started looking into how much Enic was worth. Now, it's no surprise that as soon as people started looking into how much Enic is worth, that suddenly they reversed the decision. And why did they reverse the decision? Because they don't want people to know how much they're really worth, because then we will know the money is there at the club. You have to take all this into account, Josh.
This is the same board, though. Yeah. This is the same board that at the beginning of COVID.
Have Lily White, go on.
Like one of our... Sorry, go on.
Go on, mate. Go on. Continue.
Oh, sorry about that. But yeah, this is the same board that when COVID started, like I don't know if you guys remember this, but this is the same board. I remember this when COVID started.
Wrap it up
one of our
this
dinner
one,
ladies
guys.
at Tottenham as well.
Yeah.
One of our dinner ladies at Tottenham, right, had to go out and get her own food. Basically, had to go out and get her own food and bring it back in. And my issue is when, and I'll go on to the Jose Mourinho thing. That was very random, but I'll go on to the Jose Mourinho thing right now. This is the same manager, right, who one season before finishing really, really low with Chelsea, gave them a Premier League title. And we all know Roman Abramovich is brutal, but he bought them a Premier League title. That's the end of the situation. If he would have bought us a Premier League title, hell, I don't think Daniel Levy would ever sack him. So he brought him the Premier League Championship, right? And then you call Manchester United a failure. He took an awful Manchester United side, the worst Man U side ever, if you ask me. I mean, Jesse Lingard's a good player, but there's no way he should be starting in there. They had Fellaini, like all these players who were absolutely awful, and he wasn't backed at Man U either. He wasn't backed by their board, which I found to be unfair because they backed a lot of their other managers, but he wasn't backed by Ed Woodward, yet he still went out there and won the Europa League, won them a Carabao Cup, and won them an FA Cup. So you've got to look at it as, you know, the situation we're in is because of the board, but the situation that Jose faced at Chelsea and Manchester United was because he wasn't backed in that second season with Chelsea. And when you don't back a manager such as Jose Mourinho, he isn't going to succeed. Simple as.
And Robbie, this is also the same board that told us, you know, we could only sign English players that people lapped that excuse up, right? But at the same time, create the situation by loaning out Sessegnon and Skip in the summer anyway. 2 players that arguably would have helped us so far over the course of the season. You know what I mean? So look, this board do what's best for them to cover up. Like, there's no coincidence when things start coming out about how much they're really worth. You know, things start coming out about the yachts they're sitting on all the time. All of a sudden, you know, they reverse decision to shut it all up. Like, you have to understand how these big people work. These people are a lot smarter than us. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, and they use the media to put things out to fool us. You know what I mean? And they do. You've seen it time and time again. Alistair Gold has come out with comments saying, like, you know, shirking what the board are telling him. Oh, we can only sign English. But the thing is, we all know you can sign a foreign player, replace a crappier foreign player in the squad. You're not affecting your English quota. So for me, the stuff that comes out, I find it very, very hard to believe because you can pick holes in it.
Guys, absolutely great debate. We can go on and on. Absolutely fantastic. We'll have another one on a different topic, guys. Absolutely fantastic. Want to thank you guys for giving your time to coming on this channel, guys. You didn't have to, but absolutely thanks. Seriously, David, tell everyone where they can find you, pal.
Nah, look, today's not about me, man. I'm on a lot of channels recently. People are sick of seeing me. It's about you, Simon. We want to get your channel going now. You know what I mean? You've given me great support from the very start. You're on We Are Tottenham TV. You support Lily White Lane. You support Josh. You know what I mean? It's time to support you. Everyone smash that like and give this guy a subscribe. He fully deserves it. And I want to try and help him get to the 1,000 as soon as possible as well. You know, get over the hump, give him a bigger support. Honestly, he's a great guy. Get behind him. Lily White Lane also deserves it. Another great channel. You know, for a young guy, he's talked so much sense. Again, you know what I mean? Make sure you get over, give him a like and smash subscribe. And Josh is we talk a lot recently. Look, we agree on some things, we disagree on other things. But at the end of the day, I still love Josh. You know what I mean? His channel is great as well. Make sure you get over, smash the like and subscribe. And honestly, Simon, just a suggestion. I think you and the guy Matt there. I think you should look and doing this together regularly, and you know, joining together, joining forces, because you make great hosts together. So big yourselves up, lads. Great debate.
Thank you, mate. Thank you.
Nice one, David. Thank you.
Well,
Josh,
if people do want to find me, it's the Irish Hotspur on YouTube.
Yeah, guys. Seriously, Dave's picked me up. Seriously, go over to Dave and his channel and subscribe to him. He's hit the big 1K now. He's going up to the 5K. And so, guys, get over to Dave. The Harris Army. It's literally going up and up, guys. So, Josh, tell everyone where they can find you, pal.
I just want to echo what David said there. And make sure you go to David's channel. Make sure you go to David's channel. He deserves a big up as well for what he's doing. Yeah, he puts a lot of hours into it. You know, it's no one's paying you for this until you get to the 100K or whatever it is, 50K or whatever it is. You don't get anything out of this. So this is pure love. You know, we love the club, we love the fans, we love each other, we love opinions, we love debate, we love clashes, we love, you know, bringing something new to the table. Each and every conversation is never a repeat of the one before. There's always something new. Someone brings a good stat, someone brings a bit of good of an analysis, and you know, sometimes we as fans, we don't have it in COVID. We just don't have each other. You know, after this stream, I'm back to my life. You're back to your life. You know, David, you probably got another show to do, knowing you, mate.
No, not tonight, lad. I'm going to chill out and play FIFA tonight. I'm relaxing.
Mate, I'll see you on FIFA. I'll tell you what, I'd rather give you my FIFA.
Do that to yourself, mate.
Listen, I'll tell you what, if you want to play me on FIFA, I'll give you a game with Tottenham. It's Josh Hotspur with 1H. But if you want to find me on YouTube, It's Spurs Debate, one word. That's Spurs Debate, one word. Come and give us a hello, a subscription or whatever, a message or a comment. But I can't wait to get back on this channel. So big up all the massive that support Simon and Matt and Lily White Lane. Mate, I love what you're doing, man. I wish I was doing this at your age. But yeah,
you'll be millionaire by now, Josh.
Oh, not even that. I just have so much more like knowledge than I already have. So you're going to be a mastermind. You're going to be up there on television doing match of the day, mate. The way you're going. So big up yourself as well, man. You're. It's good to see young Tottenham fans have so much knowledge and love for the club. And whoever it is, your dad or whoever it was that got you into it, respect to him as well. But find me on Spurs Debate, and I'll hopefully be on here soon as well.
Yeah, thank you very much, Josh. Absolutely pleasure to have you on as well. Lily White Lane, thanks for coming on. Absolutely, the knowledge of you, mate, is unbelievable. Telling you, you're just going up there, mate. I'm telling you, you're going up and up in the world. Just literally tell everyone where they can find you as well, pal.
Look, before I tell everyone where you can find me, honestly, you know, I started my channel off with only a couple people watching. Maybe every live stream or every video I'll get about 3 or 4 views, and it's grown to what it is. And honestly, you know, I never thought coming on here I'd meet the likes of you, all of you, Simon, Josh, you know, David, all of you, so good. And it's just fantastic where I just love this kind of stuff where you can come on and actually just give your opinion about the thing we love most, Tottenham Hotspur. So honestly, it's been a pleasure coming on here as well. But before you check me out, please subscribe to Premier Hotspur TV on YouTube. You know, absolutely fantastic content, debates like these, live stream, honestly, and you'll be doing him a world of good, honestly. So please subscribe to him, subscribe to Spurs Debate as well, the Irish Hotspur, you know, Spurs Hustle. And as I say, if you do want to check me out, find me on YouTube, Lily White Lane. Yeah, all kinds of Tottenham Hotspur content, match previews, match reviews, the whole shebang. So make sure, if you haven't already, to subscribe on there. But first of all, before you do any of that, please subscribe to these guys first. You know, fantastic content. And as I say, it's been an absolute pleasure to come on here and debate this for how long now? 2 hours and 25 minutes. So yeah, I've really enjoyed this. And as I say, it's been a pleasure coming on.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lily White. Listen, me and Matt's news to this. We went the other day. Absolutely, we couldn't get off here. 3 hours and 40, Matt, was it? Something like that the other day. Absolutely. The comments keep coming. The phone keep coming. Absolutely. It was. But
when the comments keep coming in, Simon, you have to keep going.
That's it. That's what I said to Matt. Got to keep going. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, guys, absolutely pleasure. Matt, thanks for your help, pal. Absolutely. You're always on here. You're always coming in here. Every time I ask you, you're always on hand. Give us a support. So, Matt's always on here, guys. You can find Matt Sussex Hotspur on Twitter, so go give him a follow, guys. So, guys, we're going to hit it there. So, thank you for the bottom of my heart, guys, all of you who've come on tonight. Absolutely fantastic. Pleasure to have you on. It's going to be massive for the channel to have guys like you on. So, guys, good night. God bless. We've been Premier Hotspur. I've been Simon. This has been David. This has been Josh. This has been Lily White. This has been Matt. And, guys, we're going to leave you with this. Good night.
Hey. Hello, guys.
Look, I need to ask you guys, what console do you play FIFA on? Xbox or PS4? Or PS4?
PS4.
PS4.
PS4
I'm an
all the way.
Xbox person.
That's a new debate.
That's a new one.
I'm an Xbox person.
Who made you the outro?
My brother.
Lovely.
Brilliant. I love it, lad.
Love it.
Let him get in contact with me. I'm jealous. I want something like that. I'm jealous now.
Guys, seriously, if you want anything of that, my brother doing it for anything. He'll do it for nothing. Seriously, just let me know. I'll get it over to him and he'll produce anything for you. He actually produces the music for my channel as well, because he does all that. He produces music, beats and things like that. So he'll do anything for you. So
David, I've got a guy as well if you want. Yeah, I've got a guy that does it for free. Just let me know. He's a Spurs fan.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I know who you're on about. Yeah.
So guys, thanks for everyone coming on. Good night.
Thanks, Simon.
God bless,
Cheers,
guys.
See you later, Matt.
See you there, mate.